Aita for locking myself in my office when we have company. I-36F took in my mother during the pandemic after some medical issues. I never made her move out after, it works for us, she has her own bedroom and bathroom, we share other spaces and I work from home most of the time so I can look after her. My stepdad died about a decade ago and she was lonely. It made sense for us. As mentioned, I work from home most of the time and a lot of times I'm in some kind of Teams meeting or call, yes, even those that could be emails, but that's not important. So I don't really have time for chit-chat during office hours. My mom's sister aka my aunt tends to drop by unannounced to visit with my mom. Which I don't really mind, but she had a tendency to step into my office without knocking while I'm working and start talking to me about her neighbor's sister's kid who did blah blah blah. I've more than once explained to her that I'm working or I'm on a call and I can't really chat right now. But she just keeps talking like nothing happened. Today she actually announced to my mom she was coming over. I reminded my mom to tell her I'm working and on calls and can't be disturbed and my mom agreed she would tell her not to bother me. But just to be safe I locked my office door so she couldn't walk in. Despite my mom telling her, she came upstairs and tried to open the door. When it didn't open she started knocking and calling out, "Hello, it's me, open up." I didn't respond at first as I was on a call with a client, but she kept banging on the door so loudly I ended up having to put the client on hold. I told her without opening the door I was on a call and could not talk right now and my aunt left in a huff. Now she's bombarding my mom with texts about how rude I was for locking myself in my office knowing I was having company. So AIT, comments. Commenter 1. NTA, you didn't have company. Your mother did, and it was while you were working. There's nothing to apologize for. Commenter 2. NTA, keep your door locked, rinse repeat. Maybe she'll finally get the hint. If she doesn't, tell your mom she needs to meet her sister somewhere else. She can't come to the house while you're working. Edit. In response to the Disneyland update, your aunt is a massive AH. I wonder if her kids still speak to her. Commenter 3. If she keeps ignoring boundaries, she can lose visiting privileges during work hours. It's not complicated to respect a closed door while someone's working. Update. Go to dinner for a few hours, return to Reddit only to find out this has exploded. First of all, thank you all for your confirmation that this isn't on me. I did not think I was the asshole, but there's always that hint of doubt where you're like, maybe I should have poked my head out and said hello real quick, but the truth was it was a busy day today and I just hadn't had the time. Now for the update. After I finished my workday, I took my mom out for dinner and we discussed the matter. She hadn't responded to any of her sisters, my aunts, texts because she is fully on my side. I know people are asking why my mom didn't stop her. My mom isn't very mobile anymore and my aunt simply got up from her seat and took off upstairs despite my mom's warning. We discussed it over dinner and we agreed that my aunt simply is no longer welcome during office hours, since it's the only way to stop this behavior. Either she can pick up my mom to go to a coffee shop and talk, come after office hours, or come over on the one day I work in office. My aunt seems pretty pissy about it, calling their brother, my uncle, to complain also, but he texted me earlier saying he told her how wrong she was and apparently her husband had also told her she was wrong, so now she's currently stomping her feet at home because everybody is saying she's wrong. Delightful woman she is. Remind me to one day post the story about her Disneyland trip. Anyways, TLDR, Mom and I decided she's no longer welcome at my house during office hours. Update. She has twin boys, and for their birthday she booked a trip to take them and one of their friends out to Disneyland. The friend ended up canceling last minute and told me if I paid the friend's share I could go. Reasonable enough, I figured why not. I was 16 at the time. This story is like 20 years old. I'm European, so this is Disneyland Paris I'm talking about, and I'm not from France, so this is an international trip. This becomes important later. My cousins are maybe 10-ish at this point. So anyways, we're in the parks and she has been a menace all trip already, but I'm dealing with it. It's the last day, about 5 hours before we have to take our train back home, international traveling train with customs etc. Like a plane would be, only less boarding time. One of my cousins wants to go on the rock and roll roller coaster, the other one doesn't. The line is like 5 minutes or less, so my aunt tells me to go with him and she'll wait at the exit with our bags. So I leave my bag containing my phone, my ID, my money, everything in her care. 10 minutes later me and my cousin get out of the ride, and she is gone. So I start looking around, cannot find her. After half an hour of waiting, maybe they went to the bathroom or something, still nothing. We go check the bathrooms, neighboring rides, the works, no aunt. I have no phone on me to call her, and with us having to leave for the train in 4 hours I get nervous. I'm a 16-year-old with a 10-year-old at my hand and no money, no ID, no phone, nothing. So I decide to go to the lost kids department and explain my situation. They end up calling her through the park's intercom. Another hour goes by, no aunt. I remember my dad's phone number back home, so I use Disney's landline to call him. He tries calling her cell phone, my cell phone, no response whatsoever. At this point I have like an hour or less before the train leaves and I'm in hysterical because I can't board this train without money or ID, let alone with another minor. My cousin at this point, seeing my panic, is crying his eyes out, so I'm also dealing with a scared child. I'm barely an adult myself. My dad eventually tells me it makes no sense for him to drive out to Paris right now, to go back to our hotel. He'll pay for another night and he'll come pick us up in the morning. So I take my cousin back to the hotel, explain the situation, and the receptionist hears me say my name and says, "Oh sweetheart, I have a note for you. It's a note from my aunt. Gone to dinner, see you on the train." At this point I have half an hour to run to the station, hoping we'll still get through customs where she's supposed to be waiting. I make it with 15 minutes to spare. I'm out of breath, and fuming. We end up making it through customs, God only knows how, and manage to get on the train literally as the doors close on us. I call my dad, explain the update, and he is also fuming at this point. To which my aunt turns to me and goes, "I don't know why you're so mad. I left a note at the hotel and I brought you something to eat," and hands me a freaking dinner roll. I took my stuff, went to the dining car with my cousin, who she also almost abandoned, and gave him the biggest slice of chocolate cake my budget could buy, and never came back to our seats to talk to her. XD. Comments. Commenter 1. I don't know why anyone would spend any length of time around her given the behavior she has shown over the years. WTF is wrong with her brain that she thinks her behaviors are reasonable? I can't imagine the varying kinds of nonsense her husband has dealt with. I like the decision you stated in your update. She's not invited over on work days. I would even severely limit the amount of hours she's at your place even during non-work days, at least initially, so Aunt understands the gravity of her fucked up behaviors. Why allow Aunt to inflict more misery on your mom or yourself? Aunt isn't worth that kind of abuse. It's a shame Aunt doesn't behave better. She, and everyone else, would enjoy life more if she did. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my wife I'm tired of raising a kid that is not mine. I, 31M, am married to my wife Amber, 30F. We have a daughter Emma, 7F. The problem is my wife's best friend Jennifer, 30F, has a daughter as well, Harper, 7F. Well, Harper's dad is a lazy sack of crap and refuses to do anything with his daughter. He is the type of guy that brags about how he never changed a diaper. Jennifer and Harper are usually at Amber and my house on the weekends because Harper's dad is drinking and watching sports all weekend. On Saturdays I normally spend all day with my daughter because I don't see her as much as I want to during the week. However, with Harper being there every Saturday, anything I do with Emma I have to do with Harper. Take Emma to the zoo. It's Emma, Harper, and I. Taught them both how to ride bikes, takes them both to dance class, take them both to the kids salon, and so on. Mother's Day was the last straw. I took them both to dance class Saturday morning. Amber and I also pay for both dance classes because deadbeat won't. On the way home Emma asked if we could stop to get something for mom for Mother's Day. I said sure, but then it ended up I had to buy something for Harper to her mom as well. On the way home I just kept thinking, why am I buying someone else's wife a Mother's Day gift? That's his job. A few days later, because I did not want to ruin Mother's Day, I told my wife that I am tired of raising Harper. Her real father needs to step up. I tired of it taking away time I get to spend with Emma. She said that Jennifer is her best friend and we need to be there for Harper. Now she is not speaking to me and sleeping in the guest bedroom. So Aita, just wanted to add some updates to questions I see. Emma and Harper are best friends. It was my idea to spend Saturday with Emma. I work more during the week, so I wanted to spend Saturday with Emma and to give my wife a bit of a break. We pay for things. Jennifer's husband thinks it's a waste on money to pay for dance class and Jennifer can't afford to pay by herself. Jennifer and Harper do things with Amber and Emma 1 or 2 times a week together during the weeknights. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. If your wife wants to step up for Harper, then she needs to do that, not put it on you. She should be taking her places and doing things with her. Reply. Amber, Jennifer, Emma, and Harper do things together during the week. My wife is a real good mother to Emma. It's just the dynamics of Saturday that is my issue. Commenter 2. Just start taking Emma. If your wife pushes back, tell her that you and Emma need father-daughter time. She and Jennifer can take Harper to do something with them. Focus on the fact that Emma needs you and needs that one-on-one time with you. Commenter 3. This is great advice, OP. Also, the deadbeat thing had me laughing. Maybe not your intention, but I kept imagining a literal giant beat on the couch with a beer in front of the TV. Commenter 4. NTA, stop taking Harper, it's that simple. You're having dad-daughter bonding time and don't want to tag along. If Harper wants to come along on these things, then make her mother come with you all, but not your wife. Reply. I hear what you're saying, but I think spending time with Jennifer and her kid might cause other long-term issues. Update. So quite a few people has asked for an update on this situation. Sorry it's taken so long, but it's been a hectic few weeks. As for the updates, the Amber and I are fine. Her reaction was based on poor word choices by me, poor communication by both of us, and some things I was unaware of at the time. The short version is, things at home were much worse than I was aware of for Jennifer, and my wife had only recently found out how bad things were. Mother's Day was the straw that broke the camel's back for Jennifer as well. She was raised in a you must stay together for the kids family. When Harper came to me for a gift, she realized that her daughter did not see her sperm donor as a father, so it was time to get out. Jennifer came to my wife to ask for help leaving because she had no family in the area and Jennifer does not have the financial resources to leave on her own. So the night my wife was going to ask me if we could help her is when I told her I was tired of raising someone else's kid. That's what caused her reaction. The Saturday after our initial argument, Jennifer did not come over and Emma went to her grandparents, so the wife and I had a long discussion about what was going on. That's when I found out all the stuff going on with Jennifer. The wife and I decided that Jennifer and Harper can stay with us for the time being. My problem was never with those two, it was that I had to take over for the deadbeat, or deadbeat if you prefer. When we told Emma about this, she was super happy her friend was staying with her. We had a conversation with her that if she wants to have time with either parent without Harper, just let us know, and we do not want her to feel left out of anything. Last weekend, with the help of a U-Haul and some friends of mine, we got all of Jennifer's and Harper's stuff and moved it into our house. The good thing is we have a 4-bedroom house, so everyone gets a bedroom. The bad news is my wife's office got moved to the basement. Wish me luck, we shall see how this goes. Comments. Commenter 1. Just make sure to set boundaries and have a realistic time frame of their setup. It seems villainous to say this, but the last thing you want is some quasi-blended family compound type situation, dude. It is very sweet of y'all to be there for her during this transition. But not doing so could breed spite in the long run. Update. So it's been almost a year since my last update, but with Mother's Day upon us, I thought I would post an update and try to answer the questions I've gotten. Jen and Harper are still living with us. As I mentioned before, Jen did not make that much money. She worked as a phlebotomist for our local health network. The good news is with the current nursing shortage, they have a program where they will pay for employees to go to nursing school. She was able to start that in the end of August. The bad news is it's an 18-month program and they only let you work 20 hours a week while you are in the program. So the arrangement is once she graduates she will move out then. That should be next May. The divorce with deadbeat is still ongoing. Once he found out he was going to have to pay child support, he tried every dirty nasty trick he could think of. No idea when that will be finished. My wife is doing good, she happy she is helping her best friend, but 5 people in a house is a lot more work than 3. Since she works from home, the pre- and post-school work falls on her. Emma and Harper are still best friends. Shockingly, Harper is doing much better in this environment than before. They don't do everything together anymore. Harper quit dance class, but she started with soccer. I think knowing that she will get fatherly attention no matter what she is doing has given her some freedom to pursue other interests. Harper has turned into my Lego buddy. Emma never had any interest, but Harper and I have done some nice sets together. Emma and I still have our daddy-daughter dates on the weekend. I still take her to dance class, and she started to take fencing classes. I don't know if I should be proud or scared that she could defeat me in a sword fight. I think I am doing better a year later. That there is a plan with a timetable for Jen and Harper has relived a lot of stress from my life. That I also don't have to see deadbeat has also been a relief. I also try to take a few hours a month for me time and to do my hobbies. The bad part is I had thought that I was done with the portion of my life where I had roommates. It will also be nice when Jen either gets her nursing job and gets child support so that Amber and I can stop footing the bill for so much. For all the people that said Jen was going to become our sister wife, or that I was going to cheat of my wife with her, or that she was going to ruin my marriage out of spite, or any of the weird sexual fantasies some of you people had, absolutely nothing has happened. Comments. Commenter 1. You and your wife are good people. Just like the people that I know in my community. I'm glad to see some of these stories end up on Reddit. Too much here is all negative. Shockingly, Harper is doing much better in this environment than before. There is nothing shocking about it. A stable environment is very good for children, even if things are crowded. Commenter 2. I do think that you had a sister wife without the sex part, lol. But if you're happy, more power to you. I'm really happy to hear that your daughter recovered her 1:1 with you. That's where lasting memories are done. I do believe that you're not doing a favor to your daughter friend acting as a father, as it will be hard for her when they move out. Please start creating distance, more like an uncle, to minimize her trauma. You're not her father, and please don't create expectations unless you're going to keep it going lifelong. Good luck to you all and take care. Update. So, it's been over 2 years now and I've gotten a few requests for updates, and at this point I think this is concluded, so here is the final update, I hope. Emma, my daughter, is doing great, still doing dance, still loves the zoo, still best friends with Harper. Harper, Jennifer's daughter, is doing good, still my Lego buddy, has gotten into video games. She got a Switch last year, big into Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. I have no idea what the point is to those games, but she must like them. I know way too much about her favorite character Audie. She is not doing dance anymore. Amber is still killing it at work. At this point I might be the gold digger in our relationship. Any guy that does not feel comfortable with their wife being the primary breadwinner, I feel sorry for you. She is still stressed out at home because she has a lot of extra housework that falls upon her because she is the one home because she works from home. She started to run to help relax, and as is typical for her, she excelled at it. Jennifer graduated from nursing school in May. She just passed her NCLEX exam, which I guess is the exam nurses must pass before they can get hired. She said she got a job on a med-surg tele floor. I have no idea what that is, but she sounds excited. Her divorce is done now. It went quick once Deadbeat got his new girlfriend pregnant, good luck to her, and she insisted that they get married. Shockingly, sarcasm alert, Deadbeat still has no interest in seeing Harper. He has seen her maybe 3 or 4 times in the past 2+ years. The exciting news is that Jen and Harper moved out at the start of July. She rented an apartment. So I finally have my house back. The apartment complex has a pool, so Emma is excited for sleepovers. The first sleepover is tentatively scheduled for this weekend. As long as everything is unpacked, I am looking forward to a night of just the wife and I. With everything settled and money for the divorce, Jen has started to pay us back. We refused money, but she paid for Amber and I to go to Disney for a Run Disney event this year. It was fine, but a 10K in Florida is not my idea of fun, but my wife had a good time. Amber wants to get up to a half marathon. She also paid for us all to go to Disney World this summer. Both girls are super excited. The both can wait to meet the princesses, and yes, there will be separate hotel room for them and us. It sucks that Harper's dad has no interest in her. With them moving out, I have been promoted to cool uncle. I think I am fine with that role. I am also looking forward to the Disney trip. I have loved Disney since I was a kid. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm glad to see that all is working out. I also happy to hear that the girls are doing good. I hope you understand that Harper may see you as her father forever. Nothing wrong with that, and I hope that all continues going good for all of you. A shout out for Amber being the breadwinner still. NTA good luck. Stories number 3. Aita for not letting my fiance's parents stay in our house while we're away on our honeymoon. My fiance, 29F, and I, 31M, are getting married next month. We've been together for 5 years, living together for 3, and we finally bought our first home last year. It's not huge, but we're really proud of it. We paid for every piece of furniture ourselves, renovated the guest room, and it truly feels like ours. The issue came up during a family dinner when her mom casually asked what dates we'd be gone for our honeymoon. When we told her, she smiled and said, "Perfect. We'll stay at the house while you're gone, it saves us a hotel." I honestly thought she was joking. Turns out, she wasn't. They live out of state and were planning to stay for the wedding anyway, but now they're acting like it's a done deal. They'll have full run of our place while we're away. I just don't feel comfortable with that. They've never stayed in our home before, and her mom has this habit of going through drawers, reorganizing things, and making helpful suggestions about how we should decorate. Last time she visited, she actually rearranged our spice rack and hung a mirror in a different room without asking. I told my fiancé I'm not okay with them staying while we're not home. It's a trust thing. I'd feel way better if they got an Airbnb or a hotel. She said I was overreacting and that they're family, not strangers. I told her I wouldn't feel right enjoying our honeymoon if I'm constantly worrying about what's happening back home. Now she's upset, saying I'm being cold and setting a bad tone with her parents before we even get married. But I feel like it's a basic boundary. We worked hard for this house, and I don't think it's crazy to want some privacy while we're gone. Aita for saying no to letting my in-laws stay in our house during our honeymoon. Stories number 4. The guy, 29M, I'm, 25F, dating and his friends, gatekept me about my hobbies and career. I'm feeling embarrassed. I need some help processing this. They made me question whether or not I'm actually authentic when it comes to what I'm interested in. I feel like I don't want to talk about my interests with anyone because I don't want to be pop quizzed. The person I'm dating, together 3 months, I'll call him Dan, recently invited me out to dinner to meet some of his coworkers. The first red flag was he invited everyone out to a Hooters, and said they chose that restaurant because it's close to where they work and is easy to get to. Which is true, but there are several other restaurants nearby that offer better food and a better atmosphere. Before he invited me out to dinner, he half joked that his coworkers, all of them are male, didn't believe that he was dating a hot girl that's into the same hobbies as them. They are hobbies that are considered to be primarily for men. I was a little irked at that comment, but he said he was just joking around. This pretty much became the catchphrase for the men that night. When everyone arrived at the restaurant, Dan and his coworkers were making comments about the girls that worked there and their physical appearances. This made me a little uncomfortable, but I didn't say anything. Once everyone ordered their food drink, his friend started to quiz me about my interests. Many of them share the same, male-dominated, hobbies I'm interested in, and they more or less just tried to see if I knew facts about the hobby, as opposed to asking me questions about what I like/don't like or what I'm currently doing in said hobby. For example, if my hobby was American history, one of them would ask an esoteric question like, "Oh, so you like American history? How many $1 bills are currently in circulation? How old is the French Broad River?" I also work as a junior automation engineer at a startup software company. I haven't been writing code that long, as I was working in QA prior and learned how to code while I was in that position. I'm really green and I know I still have a lot to learn. The projects I'm working on are small and I'm getting help at work. All of his friends are senior-level software engineers and were quizzing me about my work and trying to see how much I actually know. They were asking about advanced things I did not know about, and were asking me technical questions that don't even apply to my job. But, they were all smiling and laughing, and would frequently say something like, "We're just kidding." At one point I felt like I was at some weird interview and was taking one question at a time from each D-bag at the table. I know I stopped fake smiling at some point and just emotionlessly answered their questions. I think one of them became self-aware because he just looked down at his phone for the rest of the evening, didn't ask me anything else and just looked uncomfortable. When they weren't asking pointed questions at me, they were talking to each other and ignoring me. I'd be interrupted if I tried to include my thoughts on the subject, or nod at me and look away to someone else. I should mention all of these guys were 5 to 10 years older than me. I'm 25, the guy I'm dating is 29, and his coworkers are in their early mid-30s. I don't have as much experience as they do. Part of me was hoping I could meet peers who could have helped guide me or answer my questions about their careers. Instead, one of them literally asked me to give him a SQL query. They all kept saying they were just kidding around or just joking and laughing about it, but it was so cringy. Dan was sitting beside me and wasn't stopping this behavior from his coworkers. He was coaching me, I guess. Saying things like, "Oh, you know this one," or, "Come on, you got this, we talked about this last week." Dan also made the comment of, "See, she's really smart too," to one of the guys at the table. That whole night was just awful. He was actually irritated at me because he saw my whole mood change while I was being quizzed by his friends. He said he noticed me having an attitude with his coworkers, when they were just having fun and trying to get to know me. That it was immature of me to have been too obviously annoyed and that I audibly sighed multiple times when one of his friends spoke to me. I can't stop seeing Dan as a super cringy dude now. I thought he was acting ridiculous and seemed more like a 13-year-old boy as opposed to someone who is supposed to be turning 30 in a couple of months. I'm pretty sure I can't go on with the relationship at this point. I don't think this is an overreaction on my part. If I were to break up with him, is it within reason to end a relationship after this event? Everything was going fine before this happened. But now I just feel gross. The dinner happened last night and I haven't returned any of his texts today. I know ghosting is wrong, but I don't want to look at him or speak to him. The thought of him just kind of disgusts me at this point. I've never felt like someone's show poodle before. I don't know if I'll feel differently in a week or if I'm unjustified in my anger. TLDR, went out with BF and his friends. They gatekept me about my hobbies and careers all night. Dan encouraged this behavior. I acted as unenthusiastic show poodle and unceremoniously answered their stupid questions. Dan is mad at me for not playing along and having a bad attitude. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You are seeing Dan as a super creepy dude because Dan is a super creepy dude. This guy does not respect you, and he purposely brought you to a restaurant and disrespected you by talking about the women there. Here's what happened. They brought you to Hooters to undermine your confidence and put you at a disadvantage. Hi, we are a bunch of guys that are going to go to Hooters and talk about the appearance of the women there while the one woman at our table sits and watches us. They all, including Dan, treated you like a specimen, and as if you were the stupid little girl. Dump Dan and his juvenile, misogynistic friends, please. Reply. You're right. In a way I'm kinda glad this night happened so I could see who Dan really is. Even if he didn't mean anything malicious, he's still an immature bro, and I don't want to be with that. I'm not going to ghost him. I think I'm going to use this thread to come up with a series of good pointers about how everything he did was wrong. I'm also laughing at the fact that his friends will likely make fun of him after I break up with him. I'll do it this weekend so he has something to talk about Monday morning at work. Commenter 2. I wonder why Dan and his friends have to go to Hooters and leer at the waitresses, when they're just so good at talking to women. Dan is an idiot who has ruined his own relationship out of a cowardly deference to the man-child behavior of his friends. He deserves them and you deserve better. I'm just joking, is the catchphrase of people too cowardly to stand by their own shitty views when challenged. Reply. I knew Dan and his co-workers would frequently go to this Hooters for lunch. He always told me he didn't like how misogynistic that place was, but he really enjoyed the wings. Cue eye roll. But, the way they were all talking about the waitresses, and even how they thought some of the waitresses were too old to be working there really bothered me. Commenter 3. One of my exes was a SW programmer, and she had more in common with my SW friends than she did with their girlfriends and wives, so at parties, she hung out with us guys. None of us made her feel uncomfortable about work stuff. Your BF and his friends are not a good group of people to become involved with. Reply. It surprised me how shitty these guys were because everyone at my current job, male, female, junior, senior manager, whatever, is cool as fuck. They are all helpful and super humble. The more senior people have no problem holding your hand and teaching you without making you feel like a dumbass. We all have to start somewhere. When someone guessed the hobby was Magic, the Gathering. Reply. It was actually several hobbies that Dan would brag about to these guys, D&D, video games, and oddly enough the fact that I enjoy expensive scotch. Update. Anyway, thank you for sharing your stories. But, I'm sorry so many of you had to go through something similar as this at one point in your life. This isn't the first time I've been gatekeeper either, just the most blatant. I wanted to add that I know how real men act around each other. I have a brother and I've been around his friends plenty of times. Yes, they rib each other and new members of the group, they joke around, but they've never just asked trivia questions as their only means of communication. They've never been bullies, or highly judgmental, or straight up boring like the group I met last week. I've been around groups of men before and have it not feel like a shitty interview. What the group did to me last week was not a friendly thing to do to anyone, even if it were another man entering the group for the first time. Update. After the post I decided it would be best to end things through a phone call. I mentioned ghosting, but it's probably best he knows how and why he fucked up. I waited until Saturday to reach out to him, told him, we need to talk. I'm paraphrasing here, but this is basically what the convo went like. Dan, this is about the dinner, isn't it? Me, yeah it is. Dan, and, me, I don't think I've ever felt so unwelcome in a group before. It felt like a shitty interview, all they did was test my knowledge. No one tried to get to know me, and when actual conversation was going on I was ignored or interrupted if I tried to talk. Dan, I don't feel it like it was anything like that. Me, okay, so how often do you guys sit around just asking questions like, quick, what is the SQL query if you want to delete 2 rows from 2 different tables? Dan, I don't know. Me, no really, do you quiz your friends randomly like that at work or out and about? Dan, no not really. Me, and why not? Why don't you just ask lightning round quizzes like that? Because it's not what normal people do. Dan, I don't know. They were just having fun and joking around. Me, it wasn't fun for me. I have male and female friends in all sorts of professions, I've never cornered any of them to test their knowledge. I trust they know what they're doing. I ask them about work, what they're doing, normal questions. Dan, okay. Me, I'm not going to print out a CPA exam and quiz my accountant friend, don't you think that would be a little fucked up? Dan, I don't know, maybe. We talked a little more about that night, and I gave him more specific examples of what he and his friends did and he never really had any good answered. It was a lot of, I don't know, and single-word answers. I told him I created a Reddit post and I would send it to him. He was a little pissed off that I did that, felt like I had no right to so. At the end of the conversation he asked if we were done. I told him yeah, that I can't see a future with him, that I saw a different side of him that night and I don't want to be someone's prize poodle on display for the world to see. He didn't really say anything after that and just hung up the phone. I sent him the URL for my first post. He texted me throughout the weekend, but I didn't respond. He read the post that I sent him and wasn't happy with it, and said he couldn't believe so many people were on my side and were hating on him. He sent a few more angry texts after that like he couldn't believe we were breaking up over something so stupid. He did send a few rounds of, I'm sorry, and, let's try to work through this, but when I didn't respond he just went back to angry texting me. Also, I did find his friend who buried his head in his phone that night and sent him the Reddit link and asked if that sounded like what happened. Dan's friend said he knew what his friends were doing were wrong, and felt bad for me. He apologized for not stepping in, and assumed that Dan would eventually speak up for me on my behalf. He also apologized for joining them in the beginning, and wished me luck in my career. TLDR, I tried explaining how that night was weird, uncomfortable and fucked up. He didn't see my point of view, didn't learn any lessons from it. I broke it off, he has been sending me angry texts, I haven't responded. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. He did send a few rounds of, I'm sorry, and, let's try to work through this, but when I didn't respond he just went back to angry texting me. Ugh, sorry about the nice guy confirmation, but at least you tried to get him to think about it. And at least one member of that group is capable of introspection. Hopefully he'll do better next time. Reply. Yeah, I wasn't surprised when he went full nice guy. I was 100% expecting him to apologize and then take it back at some point, and I was right. Commenter 2 just confirms you made the right call whenever they do this. But I have a question, why did you explain it to him when he didn't even show interest in your reasons? Just by reading I felt annoyance and anger flaring up and I wasn't even involved in any of it. Reply. It was frustrating, but part of me wanted him to understand what he and his friends did were wrong. I was hoping he would have a moment of clarity. And I also didn't want some future poor woman to go through that bullshit again. Stories number 5. I saw my mom with my dad's boss. It didn't feel right. So yesterday something happened that I can't shake off. I don't know if I'm overthinking or if something is genuinely off, but I figured maybe writing it out here would help clear my head. It was around 5:30 p.m., raining pretty steadily. I was walking back from hanging out with friends. I was heading toward to the store for buy something. Cutting through a street I thought it'd be faster. That's when I passed a cafe. I glanced inside and saw my mom. She was sitting at a small round table, facing the window. Across from her was a man. I didn't recognize him immediately, but then he turned slightly and I realized it was my dad's boss. Let's just say, not someone you randomly bump into. He's been to our house once or twice, and I've seen him at a Christmas dinner. Now my mom had told me earlier that she was going out for some work, would be back late. Dad was at work, probably wouldn't be home till after 8. So this wasn't something I was expecting at all. They weren't doing anything inappropriate, but the vibe was just off. She kept leaning in when she talked, smiling in this soft, careful way. At one point, she tucked her hair behind her ear, something I've seen her do when she's nervous or trying to seem composed. He looked kind of tense too, stirring his coffee constantly but barely drinking it. They didn't seem relaxed. It was like a conversation that had weight to it. I didn't go in. I crossed the street and waited under a shelter. About 15 minutes later, they both got up. She put on her coat properly, fixed the collar, and followed him out into the rain. He didn't have an umbrella, so they both kind of hurried to his car. She held her bag over her head and he opened the door for her before jogging around to the driver's side. She came home nearly an 2 hours later. She acted normal, asked if I'd eaten, mentioned that she grabbed some coffee while returning. No mention of anyone else. I haven't said anything. I don't want to assume anything bad. But something about the whole thing, the secrecy, the timing, the specific lie, it just doesn't feel right. I don't think my dad suspects anything. And maybe there isn't anything to suspect. Maybe it was a private convo about my dad's job or some work thing I wouldn't understand. What should I do? Confront her or stay quiet? Update on I saw my mom with dad's boss. I waited until my dad wasn't home. I didn't make it a big thing, just casually said, "Hey mom, I think yesterday I saw you at that cafe near the bookstore with dad's boss." She replied, "You saw us, huh?" She didn't overreact, but there was a pause. Then she asked what I was doing there. I told her I was just hanging out with some friends. I didn't mention that I had actually seen them for about 15 minutes. I asked her, "You didn't tell me you met dad's boss?" She just said, "I didn't tell you because I didn't feel like you needed to know. It was related to my work in your dad's company." She said it pretty casually, like it wasn't a big deal. So I asked her what exactly it was about. She told me, "There's something going on at your dad's company, not directly involving him, but it could affect him. There are contract breaches, hush agreements, and a few former executives quietly being let go before anything legal escalates. His boss reached out to me not because I'm involved, but because I know how to interpret sensitive contracts, the kind that were written to never see court." Honestly, I didn't understand anything. It was more complex to me. Then she said they actually first met earlier that day at the university's legal archives. She said it's a quiet place, ideal for reviewing documents that aren't supposed to circulate. After that, they went to the cafe. He wanted to clarify a few last-minute details before they left. Then it started raining. She had some case materials with her to review, and neither of them wanted to sit outside flipping through wet pages, so they finished reviewing the files in his car. She said it was parked off somewhere quiet, and they stayed there until the rain let up. For context, my mom works at a law firm. But years ago, like 13 years back, she actually worked at the same company my dad is in now. Edit. What I think is she's telling the truth. She didn't deny that she was with my dad's boss for several hours. She explained where they went and how long they spent at each place. Yes, my mom works in a law firm, it's her job. She meets different men every day. That doesn't mean she's having an affair with each of them. And considering she used to work at that company years ago, maybe they're working together again or consulting on something. So yes, she was with my dad's boss, and yeah, at first it felt strange. But after hearing her explanation, it kind of made sense. Now everyone is telling me to go tell my dad, but should I really be the one to risk breaking something in the family? What if it really was just a casual meet-up for work? What if my dad already knows and I end up making it worse for no reason? And here's the thing, last year, my dad's boss dropped my mom home once. It was around 9 p.m. My dad wasn't home at the time, but when he got back, they were openly talking about it. He seemed totally aware that his boss had dropped her off. Stories number 6. I am suspicious of my wife and my friend's behavior. I want to check her phone. My wife, 30F, and I, 32M, just returned from a long weekend camping trip with 2 other couples, friends we've known for years. We had a great time, but something happened the morning we left that I can't shake. We were all packing up, getting ready to head back home. I was loading our car when I looked up and saw my wife and my friend. They were at the campsite, several feet away. She was bent over to pick something up, and in that split second, I saw him reach out and squeeze her hip, sliding his hand down to her ass. My wife quickly pushed his hand away, but she didn't look upset. She was smiling at him, almost playfully. It all happened so fast, maybe a second or two, but it felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I glanced around, but no one else seemed to have seen it. His wife was busy packing up their car, and the other couple was further away, chatting about the ride back. The drive home was quiet. My wife tried making conversation, but I couldn't focus. My mind kept replaying that scene over and over. When she asked why I was so quiet, I lied and said I was just thinking about work. The truth is, I was in shock. I didn't want to bring it up. If I mentioned it, she might tell me I was imagining things, that I was being ridiculous. The rest of the day I felt like I was just moving on autopilot. I barely slept last night and can hardly focus at work today. My mind keeps racing, questioning every detail. Aside from what I saw, the rest of the trip was great and nothing seemed out of place. A part of me is wondering if read the whole situation wrong. But, the look on her face, that smile, it was too friendly, too casual for something that crossed a line like that. I love my wife to death. We've been together since freshman year of college, and I've never had reason to doubt her. She's my best friend. But now, for the first time, there's this knot in my gut that I can't untangle. I've never been the type to snoop. I've always trusted her completely. But right now, I'm sitting here, wondering if I should check her phone. It's password protected, so even if I wanted to, I don't know how I'd do it without her finding out. This is eating me up and I know I need to do something about it. Whipped it to go through her phone. And even if I wanted to, how can I if it is password protected? How did you decide to stay with or leave your cheating spouse? I found out last week that my wife of 4 years, we've been together for 12 years, has been cheating on me with my friend. Although the manner in which I found out was coincidental, I later discovered all the proof I needed to know that she is definitely cheating. I haven't confronted her about it yet. They are still very much in contact and sending each other messages, including explicit content. I am not angry. Yet. I am hurt, deeply, when I think about it. But for the most part one just feel numb. When my parents died a few years ago, I felt a similar way right after as I struggled to process my grief. So, I know the full force of my emotions will surface soon. In the meantime, I am following the advice to get my ducks in a row, finding a lawyer and making sure everything is in place before I confront her. My brain is thinking and planning ahead but my emotions haven't caught up yet. So, I want to take advantage of the time I have now to collect as much information as possible to make an informed decision. I know I sound methodical and maybe heartless, but right now it just feels like whatever feelings I should have knowing my wife has been, and still is, cheating on me is not there. And for now it is protecting me from the harsh reality of my situation. Before I begin feeling the full depth of her betrayal and becoming emotionally vulnerable, I want to ask from those who have been where I am now. How did you decide to stay with or leave your cheating partner? For reference, I am 32, she is 30 and we don't have kids. It finally hit me and I am crushed. I've been keeping it together since I found out last week. But this morning, it finally hit me. What triggered it was something so insignificant, so stupid. I was sitting in my office at home, going through emails, and before she left for work, she brought me a mug of coffee, wished me a good day, and gave me a kiss. I realized everything I was about to lose and that was it. That was my undoing. All the feelings I have been successfully keeping at bay came at me in full force. The sadness, the anger, the rage. And I just bawled for hours after she left. I just thought about the life we built together over the last 12 years. I don't know if I'll ever get a satisfactory answer to explain how she could do this to me. I am still tracking her movements and their conversations through her iPad, which haven't stopped. They met up yesterday, initially planned to go to a motel but she ended up going to his house when his wife had to make an urgent trip to visit her sick mother. They disgust me. I am so angry at her. At both of them. Not only do I have to contend with losing her, I am also losing a close friend. This man stood by me on our wedding day as he watched us exchange vows, and he stood next to me while I buried my parents. 12 years gone down the drain because both of them couldn't keep it in their pants. Please don't tell me I need to leave her. I will. I still have several consultations with different lawyers to go through in the coming days before I settle on the right one and begin the divorce process. I just needed to type this out to a bunch of strangers because this is unbelievably hard and I feel as though the weight of this burden is going to crush me. I lost my parents 2 years ago and now I am about to lose the only family I have left. I am not okay, no, scratch that. I am pretty fucking depressed, and to top it off, I have to keep it together and maintain my act until she is served, when all I want to do is fucking scream. I've been keeping it together since I found out last week. But this morning, it finally hit me. What triggered it was something so insignificant, so stupid. I realized everything I was about to lose, and that was it. That was my undoing. All the feelings I have been successfully keeping at bay came at me in full force. The sadness, the anger, the rage. And I just bawled for hours after she left. I am not okay. No, scratch that. I am pretty fucking depressed. And to top it off, I have to keep it together and maintain my act until she is served, when all I want to do is fucking scream. The first account of the user was deleted. From the comments, I was able to locate the new account, which is now deleted, and the rest of the updates are from this account. Update: I am suspicious of my wife and my friend's behavior. I want to check her phone. Aita. October 29, 2024. Found her iPad. It didn't have a password, so I got in and it is still connected to her phone. She has Telegram on it. They've been chatting on there. I am still going through the messages, but she is cheating. I am not falling apart yet. I'm trying to keep it together to make the correct next move without fucking this up. What do I do? Do I confront her when she gets home? Do I go to his house and confront him? Please help. Update 2. Thank you all for your advice. I didn't tell her anything. I have locked myself up in my home office under the pretense of needing to catch up on work. She is not suspicious. I kept the iPad with me. She hasn't used in so long she won't even know it's missing. I took pictures of all their messages using my phone as a safety measure as well. They have been chatting for at last 8 months as far as I can tell. Telegram is their main communication channel, it seems. They've sent each other nudes, sex messages, and making plans on making their relationship official after leaving me and his wife. I can't believe she would do this to me. From the messages, I saw she had sent him a sexy suggestive photo of herself on her way to the gym earlier this evening, and when she got back home, she started kissing me, wanting sex. I declined, saying I needed to get work done. I am confused right now and unable to think clearly, so I will follow the advice I am offered here. Lawyer, gather evidence. I will work on those. I also saw several comments advising me to separate my finances from hers. We co-own the apartment we live in, and have joint bank accounts. My parents died in a car crash 2 years ago and left me a large inheritance, which she knows about. She does not have access to the money in that fund. Is there anything I need to do to protect myself there if it comes to that point? We don't have kids yet. Update 3. I work from home sometimes and didn't have any meetings this morning, so I spent it researching and calling lawyers. I have 2 consultations lined up for tomorrow, but the majority couldn't book me in until next week. I will tell his wife and show her proof as soon as I settle on a lawyer and get myself covered first. Once she's been informed, I will give her time to get her affairs in order and secure a lawyer if that's what she wants to do before I decide what to do next, such as confronting my wife. I don't understand how I'm feeling. I am not angry for some reason. More numb maybe. Sick and nauseous when I think of the messages I've read, especially the sex messages. I just feel like I am just doing the things that I need to be doing right now, but it's almost like I am living somebody else's life. I don't know how long I can keep up the poker face without her noticing something is up. Update 4. Guys, I am humbled by all the messages and advice I received. Not much has happened since yesterday. Just keeping myself busy with work and the gym. The anniversary of my parents' passing is coming up in about a month and she obviously knows this, so when she asked why I seemed off, I just told her I was thinking about them. I have consultations with several lawyers lined up, most next week, a few this afternoon. I will update after I settle on a lawyer and know what my options are. Update 5. I found a hell of a lawyer who managed to draft my divorce papers within days, which were filed this morning. I am in a no-fault jurisdiction, which meant all the evidence of the infidelity which I had gathered, can't be used in court. The good news is that my inheritance is safe because I didn't use the money for marital expenses. Our condo was a wedding gift, bought by both our parents, each side contributed 50% to the down payment, so one of us will have to buy the other out or we both sell it. I called the OBS on Saturday and asked to meet her for coffee. I chose that day because, ironically, her husband and my wife had gone on an overnight trip together. I found out from their messages on the iPad. The lies they were going with were, my wife was staying at her sister's for the weekend to help with the kids while her sister's husband was away on a business trip and her husband was going away for a work-related project. The truth was, my wife and my husband were taking a trip out of town together and were staying at a hotel, all paid for by the Casanova himself. I showed her their messages on the Telegram app, pictures included, all of it. She told me she noticed him feeling distant and withdrawn a few months ago. She thought it was just work stress and had no reason to suspect he was cheating. Finding out that her husband was in fact cheating, and with my wife, who is also her friend, came as a blow to her. We chatted some more and I gave her my lawyer's number as she considers her options. Sunday night, my wife returned from her sister's house. She walked through the door and greeted me with kisses, saying she missed me. After she had spent the weekend with her lover. Her ability to compartmentalize is almost diabolical. I sat her down and told her we needed to talk. I had the whole conversation recorded without her knowledge. Following lawyer's advice, I live in a one-party consent state. Here's how it went. I asked her to promise to be honest with me, of course, baby, but she was nervous. Then I asked her a series of questions. Do you love me? Yes. Are you happy with me? Yes, of course, baby. Have I been a good husband to you? Do I treat you right? Yes and yes. WTH is going on? Please humor me, okay? Have I ever done anything to hurt you, whether physically or emotionally? No, of course not. WTF, okay. So, if you're happy with me, then why are you cheating on me? She stared at me in shock for a good minute and then immediately started denying it. This went on for a little while and then I just told her to drop the act because I found out the truth. Eventually, she broke down and admitted to kissing a guy who had been hitting on her at a bar during a night out with her girlfriend a few months ago. I don't know why, but at this point I started laughing because the whole thing was just absurd. She not only cheated on me, she had taken every opportunity she could find to cheat on me. I asked her if that was the only time she cheated. She swore up and down that it was the only time and that it was a moment of weakness, that she was drunk, and it had meant nothing. I said nothing. I gave her my lawyer's business card and said I filed for divorce. I hadn't yet. I wanted to talk to her just once first to see if there was anything left of our marriage to salvage, and that if she wanted to reach me she should call my lawyer. She cried, begged, apologized, and then when I started packing a suitcase, she shifted to gaslighting me, saying I was throwing away everything we had over a mistake. And the worst part of what she said was I had no one else in the world. Why would I leave the only family I had left? This stung because I told her she was my only remaining family after my parents died and there was no one else I could depend on. Only for her to throw those very words back in my face. I left that night to a hotel where I am staying until I find a new apartment. Yesterday, I officially filed for divorce. I am so angry with my wife and the so-called friend she cheated with. I am just looking to let out some of my anger and frustrations. I hope that's okay. I posted once here before and found it to be a very supportive community. 2 weeks ago, I found out my wife had been cheating on me with my friend. The way I found out was completely by accident. I happened to be in the right place, at the right time, looking in their general direction. Eventually, when I confronted her, I found out that she had also kissed a random guy she met at a bar. At this point, God knows what else she's done. There's been so much denial, so much gaslighting, I just can't fathom how someone who says they love you can do that. My parents died a few years ago and I was an only child, so she was the only family I had left. It was very traumatic for me and I told her that after their death, and I leaned heavily on her. As I was leaving the house, she threw those words right back in my face, reminding me that I had no family left but her. I am so angry that she would twist my own words against me. And just so fucking hurt. Mostly because it's true. And the friend she cheated with? He was one of my groomsmen at our wedding and he was there at my parents' funeral. I am just sitting here thinking about all the times I was loving her and thinking she was living me too. How stupid must she think I am? I mean, I must be a little stupid to have taken me this long to figure out she is cheating on me. My wife and my friend behaved suspiciously. I went through her iPad and found out she's cheating. An update. Some updates from the last time I posted. My wife was served the divorce papers last week. I am still at the hotel and close to finding a new apartment. Last week when I left I forgot to take iPad with me. I picked it up when I went back a couple days later to grab clothes and other stuff. Apparently, my wife had a fallout with her friend who was with her at the bar, accusing her of being the one who told me about her kiss that hot guy. Her friend is no longer speaking with her, it seems. After everything went down, OBS threw her husband out, and he's been staying at his sister's place. She and I have been talking, she found a lawyer and is filing for divorce. She has informed our few common friends about what's been going on and they've all cut off contact with them. Also, the asshole came by my place and spent the night with my wife twice last week. She has also been messaging her sister, who, it turns out, knew about the affair. My wife found a lawyer apparently and was complaining to her sister that her lawyer explained the asset division and confirmed she has no claim on my inheritance and that she thought that was unfair. Now, here's the gut punch. All those conversations about finding an apartment together and becoming official have significantly cooled since my wife's visit to her lawyer, which I found odd. A few days ago I got a message from her asking if we could put a pause on the divorce proceedings. She said she loves me, thinks we're being crazy about this, and that everyone deserves a second chance. She even hit me with "I can't live without you" BS. If I didn't have the iPad, I might have thought she was genuinely remorseful. But knowing what she's been up to all week, I knew this only came after she realized she won't be entitled to a cent of my inheritance. Honestly, that fucking hurt. I am following my lawyer's advice, who told me not to respond. The more I think about it, the more disgusted I am by her, my friend and her sister. The fact that her change of heart seems to stem entirely from her discovery that she won't touch my inheritance is beyond disturbing. I always intended to use that money for a trust fund if we had kids, something I told her countless times. I didn't touch it because it reminded me of the trauma of losing my parents. The level of disrespect she has shown not only me, but also now my parents, who loved her and treated her like a daughter. I'm just glad they're not here to see this. I met up with the OBS over the weekend, she's my friend too, and she's been going through a rough time, especially with her mom's health issues on top of this whole mess. I told her about the messages. Long story short, she had been reconsidering the divorce after her husband tried to reconcile with her. But once I showed her the messages about my inheritance and pointed out how their messages have cooled, she saw things differently. She also shared something that struck me. Apparently, a few months after my parents passed, her husband had made a comment about how I was a lucky son of a bitch for inheriting their money. She confronted him then, shocked he would call me lucky after losing them, and he backtracked, claiming he didn't mean it that way. At the time, she brushed it off, but now she is second-guessing his motives. It seems far-fetched, but it's starting to sound like she thought she would get her some after divorcing me and start a new life with him. Either way, their behavior is despicable. I have been trying to look after myself. I started therapy, I've been going to the gym almost obsessively, and trying to stay away from alcohol. I am trying so hard to put on a strong exterior. Some of my friends have said it's a little scary how cold I've been, but it's the only way I can go about my day-to-day without losing my mind. The nights are very rough, I struggle with sleep, I sometimes drink to help me through it, I'm not proud, and sometimes, I cry myself to sleep. I am broken. 2 years ago today, I lost my parents in a car crash. It was then that I learned how fickle and unfair life can be. 1 minute, your loved ones are here, the next, they're gone. I clung to my only remaining family, my wife, for dear life. I leaned on my friends, especially my best friend, who supported me. What I never expected was to find myself here, on the second anniversary of their passing, counting the people I've lost. Today, I have 2 fewer parents, 1 fewer wife, and 1 fewer best friend. I've never felt more alone. I've never felt more broken. I punched her AP. It was not planned, I've been trying to keep my cool, but he just had to see me and apologize. As I was leaving the office earlier today and walking over to my car, I saw him parked nearby. When I got closer, he got out and walked over to me asking to talk. I told him to get back in his car and drive away, that I had no interest in what he had to say. The fucking nerve on the guy. He just stood there, blocking my car, apologizing for what he'd done. He kept saying that it just happened and neither him nor my wife did it out of malicious intent, that it kind of just happened, that they didn't mean to hurt me, that he wished we could move past it and be civil. I told him to move, but he ignored me and kept talking. I snapped and grabbed him by the shirt and shoved him away and then I punched him. He tripped and fell. I know I hurt him, because his nose was bleeding. It took everything in me not to pummel him. Instead, I got in my car and drove home. It's been hours since this happened and I was reeling at first. It felt good to finally hurt him, and wanted to do more. But now, I feel like shit for losing control and a part of me is worried about potential consequences to this, like whether he'll press charges, but I couldn't help it. The anger had been building since Saturday night when I was out with friends at the bar we all used to go to together, STBXW and him too, and we ran into them there, together. They were clearly embarrassed to be seen together in public and couldn't get out of there quickly enough. And thankfully, my friends pulled me away before anything escalated. But I had already been really angry over this, so when he showed up in front of my workplace today, I lost it. My STBXW is pregnant. My STBX wife told me she was pregnant. I was blindsided by this information as there were no messages about a pregnancy on the iPad. Her periods have always been irregular and she said she didn't pay attention to when she missed her period last month. She sent me a picture of her sonogram which she had done earlier this week indicating she was 7 weeks pregnant. She said she took a pregnancy test some time ago, not sure when, which came back positive but wanted to wait for the sonogram to find out how far along she was before she said anything. I haven't had sex with her since October 11th to be exact. She says she really feels that the baby is mine whatever that means and is hopeful that this will be our chance to start over together. She even told her family at Thanksgiving yesterday. She is not on good terms with her parents, so our contact has been minimal, but they, and her sister, have messaged to congratulate me today. I don't love this woman anymore and I don't want to be with her. I don't even know if this baby is mine as she's been fucking another guy for the past 10 months. She is supposed to be on birth control, we weren't trying for a baby. I was planning for a clear break from her and now, if this child is mine, I will be sucked right back in. But right now, I don't know if she is manipulating me to get back together with her, not sure why she wants that since she clearly wanted to be with her AP, or a new scheme to get financial support. I don't know. If it is mine, I will be there for my baby and make sure they have the best damn life possible and I am even considering stopping the divorce process and getting back together with her, not for her but for the sake of the baby. My kid deserves to have both parents in its life and I refuse to have her AP in my kid's life. I haven't told my lawyer about this yet and I will ask her for a DNA test to confirm that the baby is mine. I feel so lost. I am hoping everyone else's Thanksgiving was better than mine. Update, STBXW had a miscarriage. My STBXW messaged today to tell me that she had a miscarriage. Honestly, at this point I don't even know if her pregnancy was even real or if she was trying to bait me to get back together with her. She blamed me for the stress I caused when I requested paternity and for the stress her AP caused when he accused her of coming after me for my money. Basically, I found out from friends that she and her AP had a major fallout because she tried to distance herself from him and insisted the baby was mine, which resulted in him outing her, saying she only wanted to be with me, and baby to be mine, for my money. Because if I took her back, I'd have to pay for her medical bills, child support, and fund the lifestyle she had gotten used to. I never responded to her previous messages trying to bait me into accepting responsibility for the baby. She had been messaging me with updates on Our Baby, which she receives from a pregnancy app she is subscribed to. This sounds awful but a part of me believes she was never pregnant and had to drop the act when she realized how seriously I was going after the paternity test. Either way, the show is over. I was extremely worried about being tied to this woman for another 18 years. So, I am happy that I won't be but I am also surprisingly a little sad that I won't be having a kid. I hope one day, when the right person comes along, I'll get to experience fatherhood with her. Stories number 7. My son needed a liver transplant. I'm not a match. Because he isn't my biological son. I, 26M, have been with my wife, 26F, since we were in school. We have a 4-year-old son together, or so I thought. He had to be rushed to hospital a while ago because he somehow managed to get into my wife's sleeping pills. She swears she put the lid on properly and put them in her drawer, but he somehow found them and managed to open the child-proof lid and took a lot of them. He went into acute liver failure, and we were told he would possibly need a transplant. Obviously, I said I'd do it, and they did all their tests, blood, tissue compatibility ECT. Their tests came back, and I was told I'm not a match, because of my blood type. If I remember correctly, their exact words were, "There is an unexpected discrepancy in the blood we tested." The doctor kept saying it would be better if he could speak to me in private away from my wife, but she didn't want to leave or for me to leave. Now I know why, but at the time I was confused. Eventually she let me go and the doctor told me my blood type is O. I knew that, but my son's was AB. I'm not dumb, and I knew what he was trying to tell me. He probably couldn't tell me outright, so I asked if that means it's impossible that I'm his biological father, and he said yes. I didn't want to make a scene in the hospital, so I just went home. I wanted to stay with my son. I know he isn't actually mine, but I've been his dad for 4 years. I knew I wouldn't be able to stay calm. Thankfully, all the tests they ran were in case the worst happened, and it didn't. His liver has managed to recover and he's on the mend. I still haven't gotten any answers from her, and I don't really want any. I know she slept with someone else, and the kid isn't mine. That's all I need to know. I moved out and let her stay at the house because she has him, and I can't kick him out of his house. I'm currently staying at my mother's until I can figure out what to do for the best. I'm not really good with my emotions, but I can admit this has hit me hard. It feels the same as when my best friend passed away, even though I haven't lost anybody in that sense this time. And I really don't know what to do. I've lost my wife and my son at the same time, and it's been over a week since it happened and I still have no clue what to do. She's been spamming me with texts and calls asking to talk and asking me to let her explain. And telling me that it meant nothing, and that she only loves me, but I really don't want to hear it. Nothing she can say will fix it at all. I'm not taking her back, so I don't give a shit what she has to say. But I can't just abandon my little man. I've been his dad his whole life, and that doesn't just go away because we haven't got the same blood. But it also means I have no rights to see him when I divorce my wife. I feel like a complete idiot for not seeing anything wrong. The chances she cheated on me once and got pregnant are low, so realistically I know it had to be something that happened a few times. And I didn't suspect anything. I didn't suspect the kid I had raised for 4 whole years wasn't actually mine. I don't know why I'm posting it here, because I can't even ask for advice. But thanks for reading anyway. Stories number 8. Aita 4. Letting my sister go thirsty through an entire meal. My sister does this thing where she'll just say something she wants with the expectation that someone will do it for her. For example, if she wants the AC turned on, instead of asking someone to turn it on for her, she'll keep repeating things like, "Oh, isn't it super warm in here? Does anyone else feel really hot?" Or, "I heard that today is a super hot day," and if someone asks her if she wants the AC on, she'll reply with, "No, I'm good. But if you're hot then you should turn it on." Anyways, last weekend it was my birthday so my family and I went out to celebrate. During the meal, she kept making comments implying that she wanted another cocktail, but wouldn't order it. The waitress even came by and asked if we needed anything, but she didn't order a drink even when we all did. I could tell she was agitated at that point, but it was my birthday so I just ignored her. When we all got home, she got really snippy and said that it was super rude that we all got our own drinks and didn't order one for her. My brother and I brought up that she said no when the waitress asked, but she said that wasn't the issue. In her opinion, we should have known to order her a drink too because everyone else got one, and the fact that we let her go thirsty was inconsiderate. And that in the future we ought to order her drinks too. She also said that she was only saying no to the waitress because her family should have taken care of her words, not mine. The 3 of us have been kind of arguing back and forth about it, and I'm just tired of fighting, so I wanted to get some more opinions on whether or not I should have ordered her a drink as well. Stories number 9. Aita for kicking my mother out for throwing away my son's baking things because she believes that baking is only for girls. My 14-year-old son loves to bake and he is really good at it too. He started with simple things like cookies but now he can bake just about anything from bread to pies, even cakes. Sometimes friends and people we know will ask him to bake them something and he will charge them a small fee. My mother has always hated the fact that my son loves baking. She doesn't understand what kind of boy enjoys doing things that are meant for girls. Ironically, his younger sister hates baking. I tried explaining to my mother that there's nothing wrong with my son's love for baking and that she's being sexist, but my mother is stubborn and always makes sure to mention just how much she doesn't approve of it every chance she gets. She was visiting us for a few days and I came home from work to find my son distraught. When I asked him what's going on, he told me that he came back from a friend's house only to find that his baking things had disappeared. When he asked his grandma, she just said that now he can find a new appropriate hobby. He has a specific kitchen cabinet where he stores all his baking things and sure enough it was empty, they weren't in the trash either. I asked my mother what she did with my son's things and she proudly told me that she got rid of them because I was clearly not going to do anything about it and that I was a bad father for allowing it to go on as long as it did. These were approximately $200 worth of items collected over a period of time: hand mixer, scale, measuring things, pans, etc. I told her that the only thing that I have allowed to go on way too long is the constant disrespect for my son and that she needs to apologize to him and either bring back his things right now or replace them. She stubbornly said that she is not going to do that, so I told her that first thing in the morning she needs to leave and she's not allowed back here or around my children until she learns to respect their choices. She huffed and puffed all night and left in the morning. She was originally supposed to leave on Sunday, the day after my son's birthday. She even took the gift she had bought him and left with it. My stepdad called me to let me know just what a piece of it he thinks I am for treating my mother this way and kicking her out like some random stranger. I told him that she did this to herself and hung up. Stories number 10. Aita for refusing to give my ex full access to my life just because we co-parent. I, 25F, have a 6-month-old baby with my ex, 24M, and we've been trying to co-parent since we split a few months ago, but now he's saying I'm being an asshole for not telling him everything I do when the baby isn't even with me. We were together from high school, 2015, up until recently. Our breakup happened shortly after I gave birth, when I found out he had been cheating with multiple women. His excuse? That I wasn't being sexual enough postpartum and he had a high libido. Yeah, that was enough for me to walk away. Since then, I've been rebuilding my life. I got more involved in my church, formed new friendships, and started feeling like myself again for the first time in a while. I've also done everything I can to keep things calm and respectful for the sake of our baby. But now, he's making it an issue that I don't share details about my personal life with him. He says I should be more transparent and that it's important for co-parenting. He wants to know who I'm hanging out with, what I'm doing, who my new friends are, even if I'm just out while he has the baby. His reasoning? He tells me about what he's doing, so I should do the same. But here's the thing, I've never asked him for any of that information. He voluntarily tells me, I'm about to hang out with this girl, or I've been seeing someone new, even when our child is not in his care at the time. It's his personal time, and I've told him I don't need or want those updates. Yet now he's acting like because he shares that info with me, I owe him the same level of openness, even though I've never requested it and it's unrelated to our child. He's also been following some of my new friends on social media and asking me questions about them. My account is private, so I don't know how he's even finding them. I suspect he's using a burner account where he's viewing my church's page who posts pictures of me and the people I hang out with at times. I had to ask them to stop posting me. We have a photography team that takes pictures during service or after service and post them online for media purposes, for a while because I believe he was using those posts to find my friends and follow them. He's never reached out to any of them, but the whole thing feels really creepy and invasive. It's crossing a boundary for me. I've talked to some friends about this, and their opinions are mixed. Some say he has a point that we should be transparent with each other since we share a child. Others think he's overstepping and that this isn't part of normal co-parenting, especially since our child hasn't met any of these people and I'm not dating anyone right now. Even my mom is siding with him. She's liked him since we were together in high school, and any time we argued, she tended to take his side and ask what I did wrong. Now she's saying I should be open about who I'm hanging out with, to better co-parent. That makes me question myself even more. I'm not trying to be an asshole or difficult. I believe in healthy boundaries. If someone's going to be around my child, I'll share that. But just living my life and seeing friends when my baby isn't with me? I don't think I owe him a play-by-play, so now I'm wondering Aita for keeping parts of my life private from my child's father when it doesn't involve our child. Edit to add. Wow, I genuinely didn't expect this post to get the attention it has. I know everyone says that, but seriously I thought maybe 4 people would comment. Thank you so much to everyone who's taken the time to give advice or even just offer support. I've been reading through everything, and it's given me a lot to think about. A lot of people have mentioned co-parenting apps, which I honestly didn't know much about before, but I'll definitely be looking into that. Having a structured and more monitored way to communicate feels like something I really need at this point. There's no court order in place right now, but I've been heavily considering it. Lately, he's been more and more insistent about knowing the details of my personal life, especially if he thinks I'm spending time with male friends. He doesn't just ask casually, he demands to know who I'm with, even when the baby's not involved at all. I personally don't feel like I owe him that kind of access, but it's becoming a consistent pressure, and I'm starting to feel like court might be the only way to establish clear boundaries. Some people have asked why my mom seems to be on his side. I touched on this in a comment, but for context, my mom has always been very male-centered. She tends to take the man's side in most situations. She did the same thing to my sister during her marriage issues. When I told her about the cheating, her response was, well, men don't just cheat for no reason. What weren't you doing? She's never really supported me in situations like this. I also think a lot of it stems from her own past. My dad cheated on her a lot, and she stayed with him. She genuinely sees cheating as something normal that couples should just work through. So no, she wasn't supportive of me leaving my ex, and she still says I should have given him more attention during that time. On top of that, some people mentioned the possibility that he's only sharing info about the girls he sees to make me jealous, and honestly, I 1000% believe that. I never ask him about what he's doing when the baby's not with him, but he offers up these updates like, oh, I'm hanging out with this girl, or I've been seeing someone. I think he expected me to react, but I really don't care, and I think the fact that I'm not reacting is what's frustrating him, so now he's trying to flip the script and demand transparency from me. Also, some of y'all suspect my mom might be feeding him info about me, and I hate to say it, but I wouldn't be surprised. She watches my baby sometimes when I go to church events or other things like that, and her and my ex are still Facebook friends, and I believe she still has his number. She brings him up constantly, even saying stuff like, he's way cuter than the guy you said was cute, and things like that. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if she's told him I've been out, or who I might be with. I am taking a step back from her and what I tell her and taking a step back from having her watch my child for the time being. Anyway, thanks again for all the insight. I really appreciate it. It's helped me feel a lot less crazy for being uncomfortable with all this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA he is just trying to control you. He doesn't get to do that anymore. Commenter 2, this he's abusive, and it's so good that you're not with him anymore. Even the fact that he offers information, it's part of his controlling and manipulative behavior. I told you this, you need to do the same, I need to know who are you hanging out with so I know my child is safe, etc. Do not fall for that. Limit your contact with him only to matters that concern your son. I believe there are apps for that. Finally, look out for yourself. Once you enforce your boundaries, he may become more abusive. Unfortunately, your mom is not your ally, but you need a support network who you can trust with this. Best of luck. Reply, I definitely agree with what you said. It's like he's purposely trying to make me jealous by telling me about all these women he's hanging out with. I agree he may not handle it well when I start seeing someone new. Today, he insisted I was seeing someone new and demanded to know his name. He also wanted to know my guy friends' names because he doesn't trust them, thinking they have bad intentions, and that guys and girls can't just be friends. Commenter 3, NTA he's being controlling. He forgot that when you start screwing around behind someone's back and they leave you because you are a worthless sack of shit, you don't get to have access to their life anymore. Keep your life separate. I'd be asking him to stop sharing so much of his life with you. He's toxic. It's tough that you need to co-parent, but keep yourself as separate as possible. Your mother is a fool. If she shares details of your life with your ex, then stop sharing so much with your mother, who should be on your team. Why isn't she? Reply, honestly, she's always been like this. Very male-centered. It's something I only recently started to really piece together. She's the type who'll say, men don't cheat for no reason, and ask what I did wrong, even when I was the one being cheated on. She did the same thing with my sister too during her own issues. So I usually don't tell her much anymore. I'm kind of pulling back from those convos just for my own sanity. It sucks, but it is what it is. Commenter 4, just to play devil's advocate here for a moment. Your post paints your ex possessive and intrusive, asking about your life and trying to make you jealous by telling you about his life and his new dates in the guise of openness. Here's the thing, you do share a child, and as much as it pains you listening to your ex about who he is dating, knowing who might have access to your kid though your husband is something that you need to get nosy about. Your ex is asking about your life, in so much as it concerns who has access to his kid. That is a good thing, that would show that he is a good dad that is worried about his kid when his kid isn't with him, as all good parents do. Have a real talk with him and set boundaries, not just for each other but for who you both bring around your kid. Really helps if you have a third party there to mediate. If he is a good dad, this can go well. If he is just a terrible person, well now, you have been the reasonable person and you have a witness that he's just doing this to make you uncomfortable and he's a jerk. Reply, I appreciate the perspective, and I do agree that knowing who's around your child is valid when it actually involves the child. But just to clarify, I feel like this part keeps getting overlooked. The issue isn't him asking about people who are around our kid. He asks about who I'm with when the child isn't even in my care. Like, for example, it'll be a Friday night, our baby is with him, and he's texting me asking who I'm with, where I am, and how I know them. That has nothing to do with co-parenting. That's just invasive IMO. If this was solely about who was physically around our child, I could at least understand that being a discussion point. But he doesn't stop at a name or even a general heads up. He wants to know who they are, where I met them, how long I've known them, if they have an Instagram, what church they go to, etc. It's not concern, it's a full interrogation. And for the record, I've never brought anyone around our child that he hasn't met or wouldn't be safe around. I'm extremely cautious about that. What makes this all feel even more off is that he's taken the names of people I've casually mentioned or who appear in church posts with me, and found them and followed them on social media, sometimes from what I assume is a burner account, since my page is private. That goes beyond just being a good dad. That's invasive. That's boundary crossing. So no one is saying that he shouldn't care about his child's safety, but there's a big difference between healthy boundaries in co-parenting and using the kid as an excuse to keep tabs on your ex's personal life. I'm open to having a real conversation about boundaries when it comes to introducing future partners to our child. I agree that's important. But this feel like something else entirely. Mini update, Aita for refusing to give my ex full access to my life just because we co-parent. Hello again, I didn't expect my original post to get the kind of attention it did, but I just wanted to post a quick update and say thank you to everyone who took the time to comment, give feedback, and share resources. This whole situation has been overwhelming, and your support really gave me the confidence to start seeing things more clearly. Now on to the update. Unfortunately, things have taken a turn. During our most recent drop-off, my child's father started demanding once again that I tell him where I go, who I'm with, and who I hang out with in my personal time even when our child isn't with me. I stood my ground and told him, very plainly, that I'm not interested in hearing about his personal life, and I'm not obligated to share mine either. Unless it's a conversation directly involving our child, I'm not engaging. He then responded by saying, I tried to cut this conversation off beforehand to no avail, that if I have friends over at my apartment even if it's just a hangout or if I attend church events that he wants to be physically present during those moments to monitor who's around our child. He then said if I don't start sharing more about what I do and who I'm with, he's going to pursue full legal and physical custody. I've never really been through the legal system before, but I'm going to reach out to a caseworker or a family attorney this coming week. A lot of people had follow-up questions or offered suggestions, so I just wanted to respond to a few things that came up repeatedly. I've started looking into parenting apps and legal steps. That was something I hadn't really considered before or really knew much about, but after how things have gone so far, I know it's necessary. To those asking about my mom, yeah, that dynamic has always been hard. She's sided with him since high school. Even when I told her about the cheating, she responded with, well, men don't cheat for no reason. It's been tough realizing she's not the kind of support system I need, but I'm distancing myself emotionally and being more careful with what I share. As for the jealousy/manipulation theory, a lot of people have pointed out that he might be trying to make me jealous by constantly bringing up other women, and I agree. I also think he's using this so-called honesty and straightforwardness as a guise to get information about my personal life. This does feel manipulative because he's creating a one-sided demand for transparency. No, we don't have a custody agreement in place yet, but I am taking steps to speak with a caseworker or attorney. Some suspect my mom may be giving him info and honestly, I wouldn't doubt it. She and my ex are still friends on Facebook. There've been instances where he knows things that weren't posted publicly, but were known by her. Again, thank you all for helping me feel seen and less crazy in all this. If anyone has experienced navigating custody arrangements or parenting apps, please share. Also, if you've ever had to juggle expenses from situations like this, going to court/seeking legal representation, any advice is greatly appreciated. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your mom is telling him everything. Limit her access to your social media and put her on an information diet. Speak to the caseworker to make custody situation official to stop him kidnapping your kid. Look into the parenting app and consider a restraining order as his behavior keeps escalating. Also, are you going out on dates or seeing someone just now? As if this is the case and you told your mom, that will mean he will probably escalate to stalking you as well. Good luck. Hope you get a positive outcome. Reply, so, I'm not dating or seeing someone right now, but my ex seems to think I am. I have no idea why he thinks that, but he's convinced that I'm seeing someone. Commenter 2, if you're in a one-party state, where only one of you needs to know you're recording, start recording phone calls and in-person interactions. If you have a dash cam in your car, you can have that running while you talk with him, just make sure the audio is being picked up, and stand where the camera can see both of you while getting the audio as well. I believe that dash cam video doesn't require the second party's consent, as it's a safety feature for your vehicle, but double check that with an attorney, as each state has different views on those laws. Try to keep all communication to texts, voicemails, and emails, that way it's documented. If you can't, and you are not in a one-party state, open each conversation with, I'm recording this call for my own purposes. If you do not consent, please end this conversation and take it to email or text instead. That way you're covered by second-party consent, and him and your mom both have the option to end the conversation there, and they can choose to text or email instead. In other words, flip the narrative on them. They want to manipulate, you do the same. Whatever you do, do not engage with anger. My ex-husband would constantly do and say things to cause me to get angry with him. That can be used against you in court. If they're doing everything they can to push you to get angry with them, end all communication with a very calm response of, I am not going to continue this conversation in this manner. If you cannot be civil, I am hanging up/walking away/leaving, whichever fits the situation. Essentially you are a favorite toy that is refusing to play the game his way, so he's trying to regain control over you, and he's using your mom as the control factor. He wants you to fall in line, and believes your mom has the power to make you do what he wants. Don't give in to it. Stay strong, get an attorney, and document everything with a vengeance. Reply, thank you so much for this. I actually completely forgot that I have a dash cam in my car, and after reviewing some of the footage this morning, I discovered something really unsettling. My ex has been parking outside my apartment building multiple times this past week. I never noticed this until now, which again is quite unsettling. I also really appreciate the reminder about recording laws. I'm in a one-party consent state, so moving forward I'm going to start recording phone calls and in-person interactions. I'm also transitioning as much communication as possible to text and email to keep a clear paper trail, especially since he often twists conversations later on. The part you said about staying calm really resonated. He absolutely tries to get a rise out of me, and it's becoming clearer that it's all about control. I've been reminding myself to treat our interactions like business, short, direct, and only about our child. And you're totally right about my mom too. I've blocked her on Facebook and will have limited contact with her going forward. Thank you again. Your advice was really helpful. I do believe he's trying to provoke a reaction from me. Back when we were together, he'd do the same thing, accusing me of things, just to get under my skin. I remember how worked up I used to get trying to defend myself over and over, even though I had nothing to hide. Now that we're not together, it feels like he's still using those same tactics, hoping I'll react emotionally so he can turn the narrative against me. It's taken me a while, but I'm learning how important it is not to play into it. I've stopped defending myself when there's nothing to defend, and I try to stay as neutral and calm as possible during our exchanges. It's frustrating, for sure, but I know losing my cool is exactly what he wants. If anything, seeing this behavior continue now that we're broken up just confirms how necessary it is to start drawing firmer boundaries. The patterns haven't changed, only now I'm more aware, and I'm not letting myself be pulled into the chaos. Commenter 3, dropping of at the police station is good advice OP. It puts him on notice. Reply, our recent drop-off was at a police station. I felt that would be best since he's been acting so irrationally lately. Commenter 4, YTA for not putting your mom on an info diet as soon as you knew she took your ex's side. She is absolutely providing him with information, so stop it. I do love how Redditors rallied to get you to see the danger and advised what to do. Good luck OP. Reply, to clarify, I've never given my mother direct information. When she is caring for my child, I may mention I'm going to a church event or out with friends. The first time I noticed a potential leak of information, I stopped telling her even that tiny bit of information. I've never given her specific details. I believe she gets most of my information and who I'm hanging out with from my Facebook account, which I didn't consider until recently. She is blocked and I no longer leave my child in her care. Commenter 5, a judge will laugh his ass right out of court if he tries that and will probably make him pay your lawyer. Reply, I did some digging into the judge who usually handles these cases in my county, and from everything I've seen and even witnessed firsthand, he tends to rule in favor of the father even when there's clear evidence of abuse or unsafe behavior. There were multiple cases where women had proof of stalking, violence, or harassment, and he still denied them restraining orders or VPOs, saying they needed to work it out for the child's sake. I was even in court with a friend last year, and I watched him deny almost everyone's request for protection, even women in tears with solid evidence. So I'm genuinely nervous because I don't think this judge is as reasonable as most people would expect. And yeah, you're absolutely right about my mom. She's officially on an info diet starting today. I'm also updating all my privacy settings because I can't afford for anything to leak back to him. Stories number 11. MIL came 2 hours late to my wedding and complained the food was not vegetarian. So, I, 29F, got married 2 days ago in a small traditional wedding. But we wanted to keep things simple and manageable. We invited close family and friends only. The ceremony had to start on time because of the Muhurat, astrological timing for the wedding, so we couldn't delay things for anyone. We had everything planned around that, and I couldn't push the entire day back just for one person. My MIL, though, showed up 2 hours late. She missed almost the whole ceremony. When she arrived, she didn't greet me or anyone else, just made a big show of looking around, like she was shocked we started without her. The real drama started at the reception. Now, we had a full vegetarian spread to respect my in-laws' dietary preferences. My FIL was fine with everything, but my MIL started complaining the minute she saw that there was non-veg food served. I know she doesn't eat non-veg, so I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable, but we had it on the menu because a lot of the other guests do. She started loudly saying, how could they have non-veg food at a wedding? This is unacceptable. She was shaking her head like she was personally offended. She turned to her sister and said, in our family, we never serve non-veg at any occasion. This is disgraceful. This was all said in our national language, Hindi, so I did my best to translate it. It was getting uncomfortable because, to be honest, no one else seemed to mind. But she kept going, making everyone around her feel like they had to agree with her. Then came the music. She started saying how it wasn't traditional enough for a wedding. We literally just did classic Bollywood. That's when I decided I had to say something. I walked over to her, took a deep breath, and said, "Auntie, this is a happy day. Please don't ruin it for everyone else." She just looked at me in shock. There was a long silence, and she didn't say anything else for the rest of the evening. Later, my husband spoke to her privately, and she's been cold with both of us since then. Honestly, though, I don't regret it. It was our special day, and I wasn't about to let her complaints ruin it. I didn't raise my voice or make a scene, I just said what needed to be said. Thanks for letting me vent. I hope this was the right move to make. Stories number 12. My 41M wife, 43F, openly has a least favorite child. Can't deal with her. We've been married for around 13 years and have 3 daughters, ages 11, 8, and 6. Our oldest is 11 and has a mild form of autism, what used to be called Asperger's. She's a very easygoing kid. She does what she's asked when she's asked, rarely asks for anything, and is content in her own bubble. She's introverted and has the most in common with her mom. She's homeschooled, like her mom was, and really thrives in that setup. Our youngest, who is 6, has high needs autism. She attends year-round special education and is an elopement risk. It's a full-time stress and struggle, but she's also a sweet and affectionate child. Our middle daughter, age 8, is something else entirely. She's neurotypical and, by her own request, goes to public school. I don't know where she gets it from, but she turns everything into a negotiation and will argue to the end. She constantly wants something bought for her, done for her, or to be taken somewhere. If you tell her she can pick one thing at the store, she'll pick 3 and try to make you feel guilty for saying no. She's extremely extroverted, always with friends or at someone's house in the neighborhood. Anytime she has her iPad, she'll FaceTime her best friend from school and could stay on the call for hours if we let her. My wife tried to homeschool her too, but the constant arguing and negotiating made it impossible. She begged to go to public school, just finished her first year, and absolutely loved it. She also enjoys pushing her older sister's buttons and getting a reaction. The interesting part is that when she's at school or with friends' parents, she gets glowing reports. No issues, no complaints. And when I'm parenting solo while my wife is away, things tend to go more smoothly. I'm more direct, I don't negotiate, and I don't offer second chances. It's not about being harsh, but if you give her an inch, she'll take a mile. When both of us are home, the dynamic shifts. My wife often gets drawn into long verbal battles with her, takes the disobedience personally, and eventually calls me in once it's already escalated. By then, our daughter is past the point of reasoning. No consequence or logical redirection seems to work. It could start with something as small as, "time to brush your teeth," and spiral into a full meltdown because she decides she wants a snack instead. Even after I've diffused the situation and moved on, my wife sometimes brings it back up minutes later with a comment like, "I can't believe you." It feels like she's trying to win the argument after the fact. When our middle daughter went camping with her best friend for the 4th of July, my wife came through the door afterward and yelled, "Middle is gone." She frequently makes indirect comments implying that our middle daughter is difficult or always causing problems. I can't help but feel like that kind of labeling only makes things worse. When I offer gentle suggestions, my wife often shuts them down. She'll say things like, "You don't know what she does to me," or "She behaves better for you because you're not with her as much." Has anyone else dealt with a dynamic like this between a parent and child, or between co-parents, and found any strategies that helped reset the relationship? TLDR, my wife really struggles with our middle child, who is strong-willed and argumentative. She does better for me and in other environments, but things often escalate when the two of them interact at home. Stories number 13. Aita for telling my sister that my only regret is slapping her instead of punching her harder. My 28F, sister Nova, 30F, used to be a normal person until a year ago, give or take. She entered a new group of friends and she became a life coach. She and her friends basically coach people into everything like relationships, divinity, nature, returning to the origins, feminism, etc. They also organize retreats to Peru with their clients, doing there for 2 weeks at a time for some spiritual thing. At first I was happy for her because this new hobby seemed really cool, sounded interesting, and she was happy. The problem is after some time she started to be really mean to people who don't share the same views as her. For example, she tries to convince me that my life choices are not actually my own, but I am in the matrix and all my choices are induced and imposed to me by the patriarchy system. And by life choices she means me loving to take care of how I look, going to salons, dressing up, getting my hair and my nails done. Things that I started doing ever since I was a teenager and that I do monthly because hell, life is short, earning money involves having a job which sucks, so I believe I deserve to treat myself with my own money. But to her it does not matter that I love doing all of these. Somehow it's my husband's fault and he is the one brainwashing me to be like this. I never had any reaction to what Nova has been saying about me because it doesn't bother me honestly. If I know something about me it's not true, I don't feel like having to prove to you that what you claim about my person is false. But yesterday she crossed a line when she made mom cry. She called my mom a breeder who was used by our dad to reproduce and raise kids just because she was a som. For info, my mom was not a som because she wanted to or because she was lazy. Mom has an autoimmune disease that periodically makes her incapable of using her hands. She can be okay today and wake up tomorrow with her hand paralyzed. And Nova knows it. She also knows this is a big insecurity for mom. After the debut of the disease she had years seeing herself as useless and dad having to reassure her she is not. Dad even started making candles with her at home and selling them after just to help her with her depression. So I lost it, slapped Nova, pulled her hair a little and called her names. I know violence is bad and everything, but she was way out of line. Since last evening she is demanding me to apologize to her, otherwise she will report me. But me not apologizing is the hill I am willing to die on in this case, and I told her what I said in the title. If she can't understand she hurt mom, why should I care that I hurt her? Stories number 14. Aita for being upset that my ex-husband didn't take our divorce the way he took his recent breakup. I, 32F, was married to Cam, 34M, for 6 years and together for 16 years in total, and we also share a daughter, Mia, 4F. A bit of background, I was a som and he worked, but I noticed he was coming home late. He started getting angry a lot, also always on his phone, and to mention I had caught him looking at this girl's Instagram story before, but I didn't think anything of it. Shortly after that I found out he was cheating on me with Sky, now 19F, yeah, barely legal. When I found out obviously I was hurt, but I was also completely disgusted that he was cheating and willing to ruin our family for her. I became a som when my daughter was born and we made an agreement that he was in charge of our money and he would just give me his card to use when if I needed to buy anything. I wasn't making any income except for the money I had before having our daughter, which I kept in my bank account and I saved it for emergencies. I felt stuck because I didn't know what to do, and for my daughter's sake I didn't end up leaving up. I had got suspicious and I went to look for the girl through his followings on Facebook and Instagram. I ended up finding the girl's story. He was looking up Instagram and I just made an assumption that it might have been her and I shot her a DM. Long story short, she was rude as hell. She had zero remorse and kept on telling me to bother my husband who cheated instead of bothering her. She was aware he had a wife and family but didn't care, and even told me that he was paying her tuition. I ended up getting mad and telling her to stay away from my husband, but she just told me she would keep going and it was just fun. After that I guess she told my husband and I think he realized that I wasn't leaving. He literally would leave his location on even when he went to her college campus, which really pissed me off because I couldn't see how he was really ruining all we had for some girl who isn't even serious about him and also not even fucking legal to drink yet. Our daughter, Mia, attends ballet and they had a performance. This is what really was my breaking point because our child should always come first. He was out all night long that Friday and on Saturday was the recital and obviously he needed to be there for Mia's first recital. I gave him until 11 p.m. then I finally called him and guess who picked up the phone? Sky. She told me that he was busy and then hung up, and that was my breaking point. I quickly packed some of mine and Mia's stuff up and I woke her up so we could go to my mom's house who didn't live far. So we ended up crashing the night there as I didn't want him to come back home to us, nor did I want to see him when I woke up. That was a year ago. Now, we're divorced and I have full custody of Mia while he has visitation rights. I got a job, saved up, and now in an apartment, and while it's not the best, it's good for me and Mia for the time being. Anyways, after the divorce they ended up getting together for a couple of months. While they were together he was visiting Mia, but not as often, I'd say like twice a month. To nobody's surprise she ended up leaving him after a couple of months, but this is where I may be the asshole. Ever since they've broken up he's been depressed. He drinks a lot, he doesn't eat much, he's always sulking on the couch and just not himself. He comes over more often to see Mia, which is why I know this and I feel away. He's all depressed because she left but didn't have this energy when we divorced after being together for 16 years. When we divorced he didn't seem to care at all, he was just nonchalant about it and kept messing around with Sky, but now that this girl you were barely with left you, you're depressed. I know he's going through it but I can't help but feel a certain way about this. Aita for being upset that my ex-husband didn't take our divorce the way he took his recent breakup. This was in my notes first as I was debating to post this here or not since my friend recommended it. It's my first time ever posting or even on Reddit, I just needed somewhere to vent to and advice. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, YTA for staying with him as long as you did and letting him abuse both you and your child like that. You did the right thing by leaving, but you should have never stayed after the first incident. Reply, yeah, I know, I look back and was disappointed in myself for even letting him do that to me and my baby. I'm also disappointed myself by this right now. I don't want to feel bad for him and I wanted him to suffer. It just sucks because I was with him for 16 years and he cared more about this other girl than me. Commenter 2, YTA, because, judging by how you were in the marriage, you're probably going to take him back. Reply, I'm not taking him back, it just hurts to see somebody that you were with for so long not give a shit about you, but I also do feel bad because he's obviously not doing well. Commenter 3, when he broke up with you he had a new GF in the picture, when she broke up with him, he realized what he threw away. Commenter 4, yeah exactly, he just realized he was being used as an ATM. He thought he was a catch. It really bruised his ego. Reply, the dumbass literally offered to pay her tuition. When the divorce happened, which was a year ago, Sky was 18, I have no idea when the affair started and I'm hoping it just started at 18, but the girl was obviously not giving a shit about him as she was still messing with boys from her campus, his words as he would come home throwing a fit about it. I think that's why he offered it to keep her. Commenter 5, stop, NTA. You deserve better. Your ex's plan B is you. He wants honestly, why do you give a f about him? He needs to grow up and be there for his daughter. Mia deserves a better, too. That chick deserves to be ignored by all other women for her attitude in sleeping with your now ex. Stop sleeping with him, because it's only fueling his belief you're okay being his backup. And get an STD test. Reply, I'm not sleeping with him and I got a test back when I first found out, I'm all good. I'm not getting back with him, I'm just upset that he didn't show this much care for me. Mini update, AITA for being upset that my ex-husband didn't take our divorce the way he took his recent breakup. I'm so overwhelmed right now, I didn't accept this to escalate so quickly but it did. Firstly, I want to thank everybody who gave me advice, I really appreciate it all. I'm sorry if I took long to reply to comments, I had a busy morning especially with a 4-year-old who attends preschool and also hates getting up in the morning. A bit of background about their relationship, at least the stuff I know. The divorce happened last year, so at the time Sky was 18. I clarified this in the comments but I'm gonna say it again. Cam was the one who offered Sky to pay her tuition and I think he did that to keep her around. After I found out about the divorce he would come home angry, he would call her names and was mad because she was seeing other guys in college and posting herself going to parties. I don't know how long their affair was. All I know is how they met, at least this is what he told me. Cam told me that they met at a club and he thought Sky was older, but then she later told him it was a fake ID. Now I don't believe he thought that one bit. Sky SCRMS teenager, I could tell by just one peek at her Instagram. She looks super young, she dresses like a teenager, she has braces with a very youthful, and she types/acts just like her age. Cam has visitation rights and he comes over to see Mia, which I am gonna make arrangements to change that. When he comes over you could just feel the negative energy coming in with him by his attitude and the way he looks. While Mia is occupied, that's when he vents to me about Sky, which I don't know why the hell he does. I will admit I'm stupid as I don't say anything, I just let him talk. I pretty much ignore him when he's here like he doesn't exist while he would just vent randomly. But let me tell you guys what just happened and I'm literally so pissed. My baby gets out of preschool at 2:30, usually my mom would pick her up but I got to leave early, and her ballet practice is at 4 p.m. While during the ballet practice you could either leave your kid there or you can stay in the practice with them. One of my closet girlfriend's daughter also attends the class and I needed to get groceries for our meals. So with her permission I left out for a bit. My guess is that Cam gave Sky my number because I genuinely don't see how else she could get it. Anyways, long story short, she has read it and she came across my post and was pissed about it. Guys, no joke, this little girl and her friends was spamming my phone with calls. She would call me and say horrible things and then next I would get another call from somebody else who would say other stuff. This happened about 7 times. The 2 first times, admittedly I went back and forth, but as it kept going I finally got the hint they were playing with my phone, so I started recording and just let them yell and insult. I knew they were all together because when Sky called first I could hear other girls giggling or saying slick shit in the background. I didn't get the whole thing on recording because it came out of the blue, so I only got the last few. If I was to file a harassment report about this, would it be valid or not? I blocked them and threatened to call the cops the last time and they stopped, but seriously, this is childish ASF. Edit. Forgot to mention that this isn't real names, it's just close to all of our names and all of our correct ages, so I think that's how she figured it was me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, file harassment charges absolutely. Also, send all of the information about the affair and all of the recordings of her calls to her mommy and daddy. Reply, one of my girlfriends is super good at finding people through social media, so I'll definitely send her to look for Sky's parents. Commenter 1, if Sky has a FB account. Her parents can probably be found on her friends list. Reply, she doesn't, at least I don't think she does. I looked through Cam's following on Instagram and Facebook before the divorce and I only found her on Instagram. OOP should go to the police for harassment. Reply, def taking her to the police and gonna hopefully try and see if I could find her parents. I'd love to message her that but she's the type to go back and forth, she literally just hurls insults. As I mentioned she's 19 and she sure does act like it. OOP clarifies on custody and the affair. Reply, I have full custody and he has visitation rights. I don't know when the affair started but all I know is that when I found out, she was 18 and hopefully it didn't start when she was a minor. Update 2. Hi everybody, I posted on here 2 weeks ago about my situation with my ex-husband. I also posted about how Sky and her friends called my phone repeatedly. Firstly, I do want to say thank you to everybody who gave me ideas of what to do about the situation and I especially want to thank the people who messaged me privately to help me get over this. I also unfortunately had pervs in my messages and no, my daughter doesn't need a stepdad. On to the update, I ended up emailing Sky's school about the harassment. As I mentioned in the mini update, Sky has Reddit so she took the college she attended out her Instagram bio which she originally had. Sky, I know you're probably reading this and unfortunately for you, dumbass, I didn't forget the school you attend. I emailed them about a day after my mini update along with photos of my call log and they finally got back to me this past Monday. They didn't exactly tell me what they did but to summarize it they basically told me that they would take care of her and thanked me for it. Obviously Sky learned her lesson as she didn't contact me at all. Unfortunately, me or my girlfriend couldn't find her parents. She doesn't have a Facebook, only a Instagram. She doesn't have much photos up but the ones she does up doesn't have anything of her family, just herself. On to my ex, soon after my post I called him and I set boundaries. I told him if he wanted to see Mia then it was to be done at his home or anywhere but my house. I told him that when it was time for him to come and get Mia that I would just walk her to the car and that he has no permission to come inside my home. He didn't take it lightly, he fussed that he was allowed to go into the home that his daughter is in. I told him that there's no need for him to do that because if he wants to see her and only her then me bringing her to the car wouldn't be a problem. After a while of fussing he did accept it eventually. Unfortunately I was stupid and I decided to try and pry my way into knowing a bit more about their past relationship and the affair. I don't believe that Sky told Cam about the post or anything as I think he would have been mad or at least brought it up. Cam opened up a little bit and told me a bit more about their whole relationship. He told me that at first him and Sky were originally just hooking up. Before anything happened Sky let him know that she didn't want a relationship as she wanted to live the college experience and Cam didn't take it seriously. Eventually, she started talking to other guys and he would also see her following go up with other guys in it whenever she said she would go to an event. He tells me that he started paying Sky's because Sky said if he didn't then she would expose him. I'm not sure what he means by exposed as he couldn't be talking about expose him to me because he didn't even seem to give a fuck when he got caught. But Sky had told me that he's the one who offered to pay the tuition so I don't know which one is telling the truth. He told me that he loved Sky but couldn't love her any longer because she was a gold-digging whore, even more confused because Sky literally broke up with him. He also said that Sky didn't listen and that she deserved everything he did to her because there's no reason she should be avoiding him. Mind you, I'm confused as hell. At first it seemed like he was trying to play victim but immediately got off topic and really was just raging about Sky. I'm baffled because you were literally just crying over this girl. I ended up questioning him because it literally didn't make sense. He ended up yelling at me, telling me to shut the F up and other shit. Eventually, I just hung up the phone because I don't have time for that. Like a child, he blocked me. I ended up just talking to his mom. I asked if during Cam's time if I could just drop Mia off at her house and if Cam wants to see Mia then he could visit. She's an amazing grandmother so she accepted. I told her that he blocked me which she was shocked and told me that she would talk to him about it. But that's the update currently, hopefully Cam gets help because obviously the nut job needs it. I recently started working out and I even joined a dating app this past Saturday like some people requested I did and good news. I matched with a ton of people. I will also share that I have been a bit down just thinking about my baby girl. I feel like I did wrong picking Cam as her father. I didn't have a good father growing up so all I wanted was for my kids to have the dad I never had and at first Cam was amazing but now I don't know what's happening. I think it's a midlife crisis maybe. Sorry for this long post, thank you to everybody who helped me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm so glad you made all those positive changes. And I wouldn't get his mom to get him to unblock you, stay blocked, good riddance, no more whining to you over the phone. Besides, he'll unblock you in a hurry to yell at you, once he learns you're dating. I'm so looking forward to that, maybe you can just happen to mention that info to his mom when you drop Mia off. Reply, I'm actually hoping me and him could communicate through his mom, at least for right now. I really don't want to talk to that man. Commenter 2, Sky is a dirty little skank, but I have no doubt when they started she was underage. So the OP's husband is grooming creep and you are better off without him. I'd even try and get full custody of your daughter and keep this dirty creep away from OP and Mia. Reply, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm starting to have that feeling too. At first I didn't want to believe it because who would, but it's like every time I asked or when he's getting to it, like when he told me how they met, he dodges it. Commenter 3, trust your gut, and keep him off of your couch. If he needs therapy, see a therapist. If he needs absolution, go to church and pray. You have given him too many years of your life already. Keep dropping your daughter at her grandmother's and try to do so before he shows up so you don't have to run into him. You need space away from anything dealing with his mess to heal, and he will never give it to you. Next time he tries to bring it up, point blank say, I don't want to hear any more about the misadventures of a grown-ass man with an underage girl. If whatever you have to say is not pertaining to Mia, keep it to yourself. Honestly, I would go as far as saying that I am considering his visitation being supervised only since he is into younger girls. He needs to realize that the money that he spent on that girl, he took directly his daughter. Yeah, more money can be made, but Mia's college fund could have been started with what he wasted. Sounds harsh, but maybe he needs a verbal slap to the face to see how disgusting and pathetic he is. Update 3. Hi everybody, happy 4th of July. I haven't posted in a while and I've also been off Reddit. I don't really browse like that on here. Anyways, I wanted to give you guys a little update because I found out a lot of information about the divorce with Sky and Cam. But firstly I do want to go over some other things. So if you've read my other posts then you'd know about me calling Sky's school and reporting her. Well, basically she still attends that school, which I'm guessing they must have given her a warning or maybe literally didn't have a conversation with her at all, which is insane. But since the situation I explained with my baby daddy on my latest update, I haven't talked with him. I wanted to try and communicate through his mom, which she's been also trying to communicate with him, but he's gone doing whatever that nobody knows. He hasn't seen Mia, hasn't texted me, hasn't come over or anything. I won't lie, I was very worried at first, but I decided that he's a grown man and if he wants to act like a child then so be it, because Mia is just fine with me and definitely doesn't need his weirdo ass around her. Cam has a long-term friend, Matt, 36M, they've been friends since college so he's definitely been around a lot. My guess is that maybe Cam and him got into a really bad argument or something while Cam is MIA, and it must have been really bad because Matt ended up texting me and snitching on Cam completely. So, now I have more info about the whole affair. Firstly, she was 16 when the affair started and it went on for 2 years and I just found out about it when she was 18. Cam was very controlling in the relationship with Sky and emotionally abusive. Whenever she would go out to parties, college activities, or outings with her friends then he would complain and press her and accuse her of trying to get with other men. He offered paying for her college tuition because when she started the college year she was 17, he did it so she can stay quiet about the whole situation. She kept on telling him she wanted the college experience and that she didn't want to be locked down and all that, but he got mad about that and their relationship got even more toxic at that point. Her parents aren't together and at the time she was a teenager so her dad was super protective and didn't want her talking to boys and would often check her phone, which Sky told Cam about this and it bothered him and made him not like her father. I didn't get much info about her mother, but Matt told me that ultimately as soon as she went to college he convinced her to cut off her parents. He ended up basically separating her from her parents. Matt didn't exactly tell me what he did but just told me about the separation. Her dad ending up dying and she inherited money that could cover her college tuition, which pissed off Cam and he kept trying to convince her to let him keep paying, but he refused because he knew that when she did it, she'd feel more freedom and most likely end up leaving him based on what she would tell him about the college experience. Matt told me during the affair after this happened that it was very on and off and she was mostly coming to him for sex. Now on to after the divorce when they were together. I guess it got super toxic at that point and she was super close to leaving. She ended up pregnant with Cam's baby, which she didn't want and was very upset about. She found text messages between Cam telling Matt about baby trapping her. He explained how he messed with her birth control pills and that's what led to their breakup and his little depression. She ended up getting an abortion and blocking him on everything and he was on my couch venting about this but leaving out why they broke up. Obviously, I was disgusted as hell about this whole situation. I was disgusted that he was messing around with a literal child when we have a daughter of our own, and no, I'm no longer allowing him around her. Even if he comes back around he will not be allowed around Mia. His mother has been trying to reason, but the whole thing is just disgusting and makes me see Cam in a different light. I'm also super confused on why Sky stayed with him. I really do believe she enjoyed the thrill of getting spoiled and being a mistress because everything about her just gave me bad vibes and I really didn't like her. When I DM'd her after finding out about the affair she was just super rude, so I personally think her and Cam were made for each other. Also, last update I talked about me going on dating apps. I've been going on dates with this new guy and so far so good. Relevant comments. Downvoted commenter. So your child's life just got flipped upside down and you're prioritizing dating? Maybe focus on stabilizing your kid's life and focusing on her for a bit instead of diving into another relationship. Reply, I don't get what's wrong with me starting dating. She's only 4 and she was with me mostly anyway. I've also been focusing on her the most this past year. What's wrong with me doing something for me? Commenter 1, Jesus. I don't even know what to say. That's not just gross, it's criminal. Cam needs serious help, and you're 1000% right to keep him away from Mia. Reply, yeah, I wanted to throw up reading the text. I was with him for long and it's like he was a whole different person and I didn't know. Commenter 2, Sky stayed with Cam because he groomed her into staying and dealing with the abuse. That's what groomers do, they isolate their victims and get them to do things like cut off their parents. If you have not done anything legally to back up the things that you were saying, I really want to encourage you to do that while he is out of the picture. Get a lawyer and report his underage relationship to the police. It will help you get full custody. Commenter 3, you're right to be disgusted. The way Cam manipulated her, isolated her, and then pulled that baby trap mess is disturbing. It's scary how many people enable behavior like that. You're doing the right thing keeping him away from Mia. Some bridges need to stay burned. Stories number 15. Aita 4, embarrassing, my more fit coworker. I am a camp counselor, 25M, who works with elementary-aged boys. To give some context, I am incredibly short and fat. Like, I am under 5 feet tall and around 200 pounds. This does not affect my ability to do my job. I'm just as active as any other counselor. I work with the kids just as much that I have to get blood tests done regularly for unrelated reasons, related to why I'm so short, and there's never really any concern when it comes to my cholesterol or insulin or anything weight-related. I'm just saying this so you have some context for my general appearance and the fact that no, my weight doesn't affect my health or my level of activity. My co-counselor is a guy around my age who is, I think, a baseball player. We could not look more different. He's got more than a foot of height on me and probably about the same weight, so he's obviously more visibly fit. He brags a lot about how even after we spend all day chasing kids in the sun, he still goes to the gym for a couple of hours. The issue is when it comes to actually having to use strength practically, I outdo him every time. I'm not trying to do it intentionally. But when we have to carry 20 kids' backpacks and he can only handle 8 while I have 12, or when he can't open a jar, or when we have to lug heavy equipment and he's huffing and puffing while I'm not having a problem, it becomes pretty evident that I am just stronger than him, at least for stuff like that. I'm sure he could outbench me or whatever proper fitness stuff is, and trust me, he crushes me when we play sports with the kids. I'm just talking about that kind of work. The issue is that the kids have started to pick up on the fact that I am the strong counselor. If they want to be picked up or can't open something in their lunch or want a break from carrying their bag on a hike, they come to me. Apparently, my co-counselor complained to one of the other counselors that I am embarrassing him because a guy like me shouldn't be able to be stronger than him. That counselor then came to me and told me I should tone it down because it can be hard for someone who prides themselves on being an athlete to be worse at something than a guy like me. I said there was no way I was going to do my job worse just to protect his ego, and the other counselor said I was being a jerk, and as the summer goes on the boys might start bullying my co-counselor if they think he's weaker than me, which I don't think is going to happen, but I'm not sure. Aita for not wanting to stop doing my job the way I'm doing it so that I don't hurt this guy's feelings. Stories number 16. Aita for telling my husband I'm glad his mom died before she could meet our baby. Okay, I know how that sounds, but hear me out. My husband's mom was a nightmare. Like, Lifetime movie villain level. She called me a gold digger for marrying her precious son, forgot to invite me to family holidays for 3 years, and once mailed him a framed photo of his ex with a note saying, "The one who got away." When we announced our pregnancy, she said, "I'll believe it's his when I see the DNA test." She died suddenly last year, car accident. I didn't cry. My husband was wrecked, obviously, and I held him through it, but inside. Relief. Deep, ugly relief. Fast forward to now. Our daughter is 4 months old. Last night, husband got drunk and tearful, saying, "I wish mom could have held her just once." And I, sleep deprived and still sore from breastfeeding, just snapped. Thank God she didn't. She would have made our kid feel like shit the way she did me. Silence. Then he called me a heartless bitch and SLWPT on the couch. Part of me knows I crossed a line. But another part stands by it. She was cruel, and death doesn't erase that. He's grieving a mom who wasn't real, the version he wished she was. Meanwhile, I'm over here with stretch marks and a baby who finally sleeps, just, not sorry. So Aita? Or is this one of those cases where the truth is an asshole but it needed to be said? Stories number 17. Ada, for calling out my husband for changing up the rules in our open marriage. I, 35F, am in an open relationship with my husband, 36M. It was over the summer he mentioned it to me. I wouldn't say I was totally for it, but it took some getting used to. Now everything is going great, but recently my husband keeps changing the rules. Once I started dating Evan, 45M, that's when he started acting differently. My husband and I agreed on a don't ask don't tell policy, but keeps pestering me about the details of our relationship. I give him a little here and there, but never the explicit stuff. Everything positive I mention about Evan he downplays or critiques. Last week, I planned a date with Evan and asked him to watch the kids. He agreed. He was to get back home by 9 but texted me to say he's doing overtime that night. I was left scrambling for a sitter at the last minute. This isn't the first time he has done this. Luckily this time I got a hold of a sitter, but I could not stay as long as I was hoping for. Afterwards, he acted as if everything was okay. He began policing me when I left the house and began picking my outfits apart, expressing concern about how the neighbors would perceive me. To avoid conflict, I started wearing jackets to cover up before heading out. Then came the issue of Evan dropping me off. He worried about the neighbors seeing a strange car pull up at night. This forced me to do lunch dates. It wasn't a bother. I would bring my laptop to Evan's and work at his place. However, I preferred the dinner dates because I got a chance to dress up more. Changing up the time seemed to alleviate some tension, but I still feel like I was compromising too much. He didn't even want me to drive to the dates, but when Evan pays for an Uber or drops me off it's an issue. It makes no sense. The breaking point was when Evan sent flowers to the house. My husband lost it, claiming it's dangerous for a strange man to know our address when we have kids inside. I will say he was right about this. I did drop the ball, however. He insisted that I shouldn't bring home any gifts at all going forward, arguing it violated our don't ask don't tell rule. He used to joke about me not getting chivalry in my open relationship, and now that I'm getting dates it's a big deal. I asked him if he doesn't take the women he sleeps with on dates, and he said no, it's strictly sex and none of that lovey-dovey bullshit that I'm doing. I confronted my husband about these rules and he just brushed it off like it was nothing, saying, it's just a respect thing. I was really enjoying this, but he's sucking the fun out of it and it just feels highly stressful. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Question: does your husband actually hook up with other women? Reading between the lines, I wouldn't be surprised if things weren't working out for him. If this is going to work, you can't just agree to don't ask, don't tell, and call it a day. Rules have to be in place. If he only wants sexual relationships outside of the marriage, without emotional intimacy, that's a fine rule if you agree to it. It's also fine to change the rules after they've been established, but that should be based on a conversation where everyone is on the same page. He shouldn't be able to change or establish the rules on his own and get mad that you haven't been following them. Reply: I think he does. He dresses up on the weekend to go out and comes in late. We both agreed to emotional intimacy /ONS casual. It's just the nitpicking that's too much. I don't mind having a discussion, but when I'm met with, it's not that serious, that's when I get pissed. Commenter 2, what are the rules in your arrangement for theses side relationships? It sounds like you are dating one person, which is an emotional connection, and he is hooking up with various women and not entering into relationships. Reply: we are okay with emotional connection, one night stands or casual hookups. He says he doesn't do dating, just sex. That's what works for him. For me, I can't do casual or one night stands. Mentally just too much for me. Commenter 3, dating is emotional intimacy though. Dating is literally getting to know someone on a personal and yes emotional level with the end goal of something serious. Again, the guy sent flowers to your house knowing that your husband would be there. At the very least, you need to break it with Evan, as that alone is such a red flag. He should have known something like that would cause problems for you with your actual husband. If the roles were reversed and your husband was getting gifts delivered or something of the sort, how would you react? Reply: I am aware of that, but we are allowed to date other people. He himself said it was cool with him if I dated. Evan and I had a conversation and he knows I'm not going to make this a permanent thing. I did tell him sending the flowers at home was a bit too much. He still buys me flowers, but he keeps them in his apartment for me when I'm at his place working. I wouldn't mind if my husband received presents. I mentally prepared myself for months before starting this. While he was out dating, the 2 weeks after proposing the idea, I was at home getting used to the arrangement. Does OOP's husband have problems with her dating? Reply: he has no problems with dating. Evan isn't the first guy I have dated before in our arrangement. Commenter 4, are you poly or are you in an open relationship? Because to me, you are dating this other man, and if he is sending you flowers, you are not just fucking but it has feelings involved, and if that is the case, can you have another relationship while married? If you are poly, then that would be fine, but for me, as far as I'm concerned, you don't get feelings involved and move towards a full-blown relationship in an open marriage. You have your fun, he has his. So depends on the rules of this open marriage on if Ida, or Nta. Reply, there are no feelings involved. Evan and I had a discussion. He's just very thoughtful and kind, that's it. Plus I enjoy getting dolled up and trying new restaurants. He isn't the first guy since opening the relationship, and I doubt he will be the last if we continue this. Has OOP's husband met someone? Reply, husband claims that he met a guy who is happy in his. I don't know how true that is based on everyone replies and the truth bomb statistics. I guess it's not true. Additional information from OOP after reading comments. Reply, we are both allowed to date and hook up. We both agreed to either an emotional connection, hookups, and casual. He didn't mind. Evan isn't the first guy. My husband says he can only do sex, no emotional intimacy. That works for him, but I can't do casual, and he knows. That was our agreement. Update. You guys were right, this was a shit show. I'm not sure where to start, but we are getting a divorce. He in fact did not change and became way more possessive and controlling while changing the rules. Everything I did was either wrong or inconsiderate. Evan had planned a weekend trip to Cabo to celebrate a new business venture. I asked my husband if he was okay with it weeks in advance. He enthusiastically agreed, mentioning I deserved the trip. He even told me to make sure I flood his phone with pics. I told him I was going to stay with Evan the night before for easier commute. He insisted on taking me to the airport instead, since it was our last night until Tuesday. However, when it was time to leave, he overslept. Despite urging him to get up to the point that I pulled the covers off and turned off the air, he spent an entire hour in the bathroom. Then, to make matters worse, he didn't fill the tank. I told him the evening before. I called an Uber, which was another hour late, but luckily I got to enjoy my trip. I let it slide and moved on. Boy oh boy, I wish I never went on that trip because things got worse. It's like I was being punished for the trip. He became incredibly invasive in my personal relationships. He wanted to know what my sex life with Evan was like. If he was better, etc. He used to play it off like it was not a big deal to him. Then I caught him snooping through my phone. It was too much. I didn't understand because Evan was no longer the only man I was seeing, but Evan triggered him the most. If that wasn't enough, he had his friends over for boys' night. I was getting ready for girls' night. Before I left, he said out loud, "You're really gonna leave me to go fuck him," in front of his friends. The embarrassment and humiliation I felt, even typing this. I just sat in my car and cried so much, and that's when I knew it was done. He apologized, mentioned he was drunk. I don't buy it one bit. He has never acted like this. This open relationship has left me drained mentally and emotionally, and it wasn't even my idea to begin with. I have filed for divorce, but he keeps begging for reconciliation, but I can't. Before anyone comments, I know you told me so, sigh. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you said in your first post that you had a don't ask, don't tell policy, and he switched it up. Was there any other rules? Like, okay, you can have a FWB or one night stand. Because you were basically in a relationship with Evan. I'm not trying to sound like an AH, but it is a good thing you guys divorce, because from how you wrote, Evan isn't the only one anymore, shows how much you're really not ready to settle down anymore and just want to do your own thing, which is fine, but at the same time, please be safe. Reply, there were multitude of rules that kept getting changed to fit whatever conditions he wanted in the relationship. We kept having discussions over and over, and when I asked if he wanted to close, he said no. Commenter 2, but was it said it's only to be sex, or you can have a significant other besides your spouse? It's not right, but sex is one thing, having a full-on partner that you confide in, have sex with, and even go on vacations with is completely different. IMO. Reply, I was allowed emotional intimacy, dating, alongside sex. He doesn't like the relationship aspect, he's more of a casual one-night stand guy. I cannot do that. I need to foster an intimate relationship with others, and he knows that. I asked him weeks before about the vacation, and he was happy for me. This isn't our first time taking a trip, but it's the first out the country. He could have been transparent and communicated that he didn't want me to go. There are many times he's voiced his concerns and I listened. I followed the rules, he just didn't like the outcome. OOP responds to a longer comment regarding the open marriage rules OOP's husband has set up. Reply, after my first post we discussed the rules and I was allowed to have a full-blown relationship. I was always allowed, that's our definition of emotional intimacy, a relationship. The rules have been modified many times. I didn't care to update Reddit because I didn't think it was anyone's business. I have asked him countless of times if Evan was a bother to him, he said no, and even went as far as saying he prefers when I'm with one person versus multiple, which is strange since he gets with multiple people. If he wanted me to stop speaking with him, he should have been transparent instead of passive-aggressive. I told him the minute he is uncomfortable he should let me know. Even though he's doing I still love him deeply, I like Evan but he could never compare to my husband. OOP and her husband should seek couples counseling. Reply, no need for counseling since we are getting a divorce. I would never want to be married to someone who cannot communicate. There are many personal details I left out. Remember you don't know me and my husband nor our dynamic, just the update to a post. What he did by humiliating me and sabotaging every chance wasn't right. Whether he was angry or not. Emotional manipulation is never okay. With that being said, thank you for the response, but this is my last one. Commenter 3, why get married to have an open marriage? No judgment, just curious. Reply, you would have to ask him since he was the one that suggested it. Stories number 18. Aita for telling my STBEXMIL that she's the one who taught her son he could cheat and think he'd get away with it. About 3 weeks ago, I found out that my husband has been cheating on me. The day that I found out, I packed bags for me and the kids and left. I did not confront him about the cheating, I just let him know that our marriage was over, but that I hoped to work with him on an amicable divorce and custody arrangements. Of course he did all the cliché begging, crying, swearing he would change, it was a mistake and it meant nothing, blah blah blah. I just said that's nice, well, let me know where to send the divorce papers. He was shocked. He told me before that his dad cheated on his mom but she was able to forgive him. He must have expected me to do the same. Since then, I have only communicated with him about the girls. He is running in circles trying to get me to react to anything else he says. I give him nothing. He has begged me to just talk to him. I said that there is nothing to talk about. My MIL confronted me outside the gymnastics gym. I was going to hand the girls off to her so they could spend time with dad. MIL told me that she was very disappointed in the way that I'm handling all of this, that she expected more maturity from me, and that she hopes it doesn't impact the girls negatively long term. I let her say what she wanted. She is allowed her opinion. But she looked at me, waiting for a response of some kind. So I asked her, why are you directing your anger at me when your son is the one who ended this marriage? She said that I am the one who chose to end the marriage, not him, that he was willing to work on it and go above and beyond to prove that it was a mistake and all that nonsense. And how it was the most shocking how cold I've become, that I won't even talk to him. I said, well, what is there to say? He decided to end the marriage. The time to go to marriage counseling was before he did what he did. There is nothing left to salvage. He made the decision, and now he lives with the consequences. She was getting herself all worked up and upset. Oh boo-hoo, don't you feel bad for tearing apart this family? Don't you want your daughters to grow up in a stable home? How could you walk away after all this time? She said she couldn't imagine breaking up her family over something like this. I said, well, maybe if you had, your son wouldn't think he can cheat without consequences. You're the one who taught him this. She got that big shocked look on her face, told me that I was being a needlessly cruel monster over all of this. And oh boo fucking who, she's disappointed. I'm not keeping the girls from him, I'm being helpful with those arrangements, and I plan to be generous when it comes to splitting time. I have no interest in taking anything that wasn't mine when we entered into our marriage. But somehow I'm the cruel monster. How? Stories number 19. My coworker booked all the best vacation days for the year and no one else can have them. I'm relatively new in my position with a small company in the construction industry. Because we're a small family business with a particular specialty, we don't have a lot of depth in some key positions. For this reason, a new vacation policy was been put in place shortly before I got here last year. Employees are required to give 3 weeks notice for vacations, and only one employee in a given group, sales/administration/CSRs/field techs, can be on vacation at a time. This initially caused some grumbling, but everybody seems to have adjusted to it. The process is that a calendar goes up every January, and people write in their names on the dates they want to take off in that calendar year. You can put your name down throughout the year as long as you complete your request 3 weeks in advance. If somebody else in your group writes her name in on a day you want off before you do, you have to choose another day. So here's the issue. At the first of the year, the calendar went up. A week or so later, one employee, who we'll call Jane, wrote her name down on the Friday and Monday before and after each holiday, in addition to other days through the year. Jane also has been here longer than anyone else and therefore has more vacation days than anyone else. Another employee in the same group, Lucinda, became very angry about that as soon as it happened, though she never brought it up to her manager. She has since left the company. I can understand Lucinda's ire at discovering that all those coveted days were taken, but there was no policy against it, so Jane didn't break any written rules. Lucinda also had the same access to the calendar and the same amount of time to write her name on it as Jane did. On the other hand, I think Jane should have realized that this move might be unwelcome to her coworkers. I have always worked in much larger companies, so this is my first time dealing with this situation. My question is, have we as a company erred in not preventing one employee from claiming all the good days? How do other companies handle this? Update. I approached my manager about changing how we handled the before and after holidays days. We decided to not accept requests for these days until 2 months before the day, so, for example, no Thanksgiving week requests would be accepted before mid-September. If there are conflicts when we do accept those requests, we look first to see who had those days off the previous year, and if there's still a conflict, seniority rules. So far it's working well, and we've had no more problems. Here's an interesting thing, though. The coworker, Jane, whose calendar strategy triggered my letter, ended up in a bad car wreck 2 months ago, and was out of work for several weeks. She is much better and back at work now, but the number one thing on her mind as we kept in touch with her during her recovery. Yep, you guessed it. How is this going to affect my vacation time? Stories number 20. Aita for moving across the country for a better job, even though my legal guardian says I'll make her and my stepdad homeless. I, 19M, was recently offered a full-time job on a military base in South Carolina. It pays $21 per hour and comes with full benefits. I currently work retail in Michigan for $13 hour, so this is a major upgrade, both financially and for my future. Here's the issue, I still live with my legal guardian, 50F, and her husband, my stepdad, 54M. She got full guardianship of me when I was a kid, after my biological father passed away and my biological mother gave up her rights. She's not related to me by blood. My guardian and stepdad are financially struggling. He's on dialysis 5 days a week, and she does Instacart for extra income. She says she can't work a regular job because she needs to be home for his treatments. As a result, I've been helping cover major household expenses. My income has basically become part of their survival plan. When I told her about the job offer and my plans to move, she immediately said, if we end up homeless, it'll be your fault. She accused me of being selfish and abandoning them. She also flipped out when I told her I'd be moving in with my sister, mom's bio daughter, 27F, someone I've recently reconnected with, and who offered to let me stay with her family until I find my own place. To clarify, my sister and mom don't have a good relationship. Or any relationship now. You see, when I was 13, my sister's bio father bought her a car, and her husband decided to move to SC. My sister tried to convince me to move to SC with her because mom is a narcissist and toxic. I didn't believe her then. If I had moved with her to SC, mom could have reported her for kidnapping. Since the move, my mom and sister are estranged. My sister even ignored mom while visiting for my high school graduation. My mom despises her and sees me staying with her as betrayal. I feel incredibly torn. I do care about them and I've been helping financially, but I don't want to stay stuck in a dead-end job forever. I offered to continue sending them money once I'm financially stable, but that apparently isn't enough. Stories number 21. Aita for not telling my roommates and sisters I am the owner. Hello everyone. I wanted to again thank everyone for their kind words, support, ideas, and help. I cannot tell you how much your words and concern have meant, and how much the support has helped me keep strong and not back down. There have been times when I have wanted to crumble under the weight of all this stress, but reading your comments has really helped me hang on. I wanted to update because so many seemed worried in my last post. I'm still here. The protection orders, I have one against Mr. Basement and he is officially not allowed to be on my property or contact me in any way, including through others like Mrs. Basement. I was unable to get one against my 25-year-old sister because there hasn't been a threat of violence, even with police documentation of her screaming and the home security footage of her banging on the door. The move-out date. Mrs. Basement, at first she tried to tell me she needed his help to pack and move things, and I had to repeatedly tell her he was not allowed on the property for any reason. I made it clear if I even so much as thought he was on the property, I would call the police to investigate. And I have done so. As of last night, Mr. Basement was arrested for ignoring the court-ordered protection. He was in the basement helping pack at like 1 a.m. My new motion detectors in the backyard went off and sent me an alert. He had tried to sneak around the camera he knew was back there. But I have since upgraded and installed new hidden cameras. I was called an asshole for not informing them of the new cameras. Mrs. Basement is convinced I had seduced him and it's my fault because I led him on. She yelled at me for trying to take her man and called me a lot of nasty things. She told me he only offered to do anything because they didn't want to move back in with family. It was a sacrifice to keep her safe. There's no talking her down from that hill to die on, so I have been keeping my distance. She has had a lot of help from family now, and mostly, if I am home, I hear her family belittling her or her boyfriend's family scolding her. They think it's her fault he tried to cheat and her fault they lost the apartment. They are not worried about staying quiet or calm because they are moving out anyway. 25-year-old sister. She only has a few big items left and has been mostly sleeping at her new place since it became apparent that I was going to have a rotating door of people staying with me. If she would try to leave a mess in the kitchen, she was met with judgmental stares. When she tried to take my TV in the living room while I was gone, Mr. Attic and a friend blocked her from leaving and called the cops. It's a newer smart TV. I had given Mr. Attic access to the other cameras until everyone was gone because I was worried for his and his friend's safety. She still curses me out when we manage to cross paths. She tried to cancel my internet and put "return to sender" on some mail that came in my name. The internet company has a special code for each account and she couldn't provide the code, so they called me. My mail lady was confused and asked me about the mail, asking if I needed a forwarding address because I was moving. I'm going to get a lockbox things for packages now. 27-year-old sister. I don't think she is looking for apartments. She keeps crying to me that she has nowhere to go. She tried to change the lock to her bedroom but I shut that down. I think she will try again. She has been bringing some guy around a lot but refuses to make introductions. He stays in her room mostly, only leaving to use the bathroom or watch her microwave ramen and eggs. He won't look anyone in the face and rolls his eyes when people try to talk to him. I'm worried this will turn into a squatter matter, so I am working with my lawyer to have everything ready to remove him as well. Was he the boy toy from earlier? I have no idea. I didn't know she had one and I don't know what he looked like. When I found out, it was only a name. Since she hasn't made introductions with him, I don't know who he is. Mr. Attic's blown cover. They haven't done much of anything to him since they seemed to realize he was feeding me information. They blocked him. We are pretty sure they still think he has to move out too, and him giving me stuff was a last-ditch effort to stay. They won't even look at him anymore. The story of Mr. Attic, with his approval. Mr. Attic is the youngest of 7, yes, that is right, kids. There would have 10 had there been proper medical care. His parents are heavily involved with their church and do not believe in a lot of things: modern medicine, birth control, non-traditional gender roles, etc. At this point, I'm pretty sure you can see where this is going. At 16, Mr. Attic was exposed to the outside world for the first time. Up until that point, he had been homeschooled and only knew people from his religious community. He started to sneak out to learn more. By 18, he had his childhood vaccines and a career picked out. When he told his family he wanted to learn medicine, they tried to get him to intern with their family care people from the church. He perused real medicine and started classes to become a nurse. They were heavily resistant and hard to handle about it, but still talking to him. Mostly to try to force him back into the fold. He still lived at home, so it was a constant battlefield. He began sleeping in his car on campus. But then he met a guy and his perspective on a lot more changed. They talked, they laughed, they danced. His family found out and went through the roof. They kicked him out with just the clothes on his back. They burned pictures of him, and any family photo that had him was either destroyed or he was cut out of. They cut him off from all family. They tried to take the car, but it was in his name. They harassed and did a lot of terrible things to the guy he had been seeing. He was unable to handle the level of nuclear crazy that was Mr. Attic's family, so he put a stop to their relationship. Mr. Attic, alone and desperate because of the upcoming winter, looked everywhere to get a place to stay. He crashed on a lot of couches for evenings at a time because fall hit fast and hard. No one could take him in long term because they were living at home or had roommates. He heard about my place from a friend of a friend and turned up one evening, asking like a small child if there was any room left. He offered to take the garage, even, just a bed in the corner. I set him up in the attic and helped get him more clothes and a bed. I made intentional leftovers for the first few months and didn't take any rent until he had what he needed for class and himself. The rent started as just enough to cover his bills, and after he got his career, it grew a little more. When I saw him on my porch, in dirty clothes and no jacket in October, I saw myself in January of the year I was shut out of my group home with just a bag of 2 small clothes, shoes with holes, an old hand-me-down iPad that hardly worked, and $50 to my name. He told me he never forgot how kind I had been to him, and how kind I had been to let him bring in short-term guests who also had nowhere to go until they could get on their feet. I hadn't known the full story when he first moved in, and I never pushed him. When he brought home a non-biological woman, I'm sorry, I don't know all the correct terms, and I didn't even blink, just offered spaghetti. He knew this was his place and I was his people. I didn't ask, didn't make a fuss, and offered some clothes for her. He always wanted to try to repay me, but I always seemed to never need anything. He said I was always giving. I didn't see it like that. I've been invited to a cafe and bar. Ones that usually only caters to the LGBTQ+ community, but I am going to go and meet people. He'd like me to meet more of his friends. They really are wonderful people. Stories number 22. Had a MAGA sticker put on my back at a friend's wedding. I am a disabled woman. Last month I was a bridesmaid in my best friend's wedding and the whole experience was kind of shitty. A few things happened before the sticker, that was just my breaking point. Day of the wedding I learned there was a bridal shower the week prior. Not only was I not invited, I wasn't even told it was happening. I learned about it because the other bridesmaids were making jokes and talking about it in front of me. Everyone was telling the bride during makeup and hair about how amazing she looked. I tell her how gorgeous she looks and she literally yells at me to not compliment her. It was apparently stressing her out. Nobody else got scolded, just me. She literally yelled at me in a temper. Bride gave everyone customized robes to wear while we got ready. They all said bridesmaid on the back, except for mine and one other bridesmaid, whom the bride had been bitching about for months, and openly admitted to me that she regretted asking her to be in her wedding. Ours had our first initial on the front. Bride said Shine must have made a mistake, but I found the link. It was a customized robes. The bride literally would have had to do that intentionally. It's the lying that honestly upset me more than being singles out with something different compared to everyone else. Bride's boss attended the wedding, literally dressed up as Trump. Look, everyone is entitled to their political beliefs, but to being politics to a wedding is crass. I just stayed away from him. Bride did a group dance with her bridesmaids. At the end everyone circles together, linked arms, and put the bride in the middle so we could spin around her. I got shoved out by the other bridesmaids, linking arms as I was trying to slip into my spot. I got locked out and had to walk off the dance floor in the middle of the dance, in front of everyone, or just stand there until they were done. I walked off because it felt like the less mortifying option. Now on to my final snapping point. Somewhere during the event, I genuinely do not know when, someone's apparently stuck a "I voted for Trump 2024" sticker to my back. I was the only person this happened to at the event. I was also the only disabled person there. A random guest pulled it off my back and made me aware of it. I do not know how long it was on my back for. I did not vote for Trump, ever. I loathe the man, and my political beliefs do not align with him. I was upset, and pulled aside my groomsman partner and another bridesmaid, asking them about it. I made it clear do not tell the bride, it's her important day, I don't want to do anything to disrupt it. They ignored me, and went right to her, alerting her. She pulled me aside, telling me it was just a joke and don't stress over it. I vocalized the fact that this was a form of targeted harassment, me being the only one at the wedding to have this sticker put on them, later confirmed by multiple people, and I was indeed quite upset over this. She kept brushing it off, and basically told me to get over it, it was nothing. I in fact, could not get over it. It bothered me, deeply. After I got home, I terminated the friendship. I don't think IAO, but IDK maybe I'm wrong. AIO over this? Edit, thank you for the insight. I'm going to stop worrying if I made a wrong decision in terminating the friendship. It seems I made the correct choice. Edit 2, the MAGA Redditors found my post. Stories number 23. Aita for breaking up with her after I saw her apartment. I had been seeing this girl for a few months. We met through a friend, so I had known her a little longer, but she was gorgeous and I was super into her. Last Saturday she invited me over to her place, which I had never been to. She had mentioned her apartment was a mess and I laughed cause I thought she was just being self-deprecating, but when we got to her place, holy shit dude. I want to start off by saying I know that people have their reasons for stuff like this and I don't want to be disrespectful in any way. There are plenty of valid reasons for not being able to clean your home. But the state of her apartment was genuinely shocking when I first went in. It was a pretty small place and I'm not just talking about clutter. Literal piles of trash on the floor, sink full of dishes overflowing onto the counter, stains on the couch and carpet, week-old food on the table and just piles and piles of stuff everywhere. Not to mention the overpowering smell of mold and mildew that I could literally taste in my mouth. She told me to sit down and stuff like it was completely normal and I tried not to act weird, but I'm sure she noticed. I stayed for a bit and we watched a movie on the couch, but I left before it got too late. The next day I called her and told her I didn't think things were going to be compatible between us and she got mad at me for leading her on and breaking up with her for no reason. I didn't mention the apartment, but maybe I should have. Literally nothing about her appearance or personality would lead me to expect this, so it was sort of unbelievable to see the state she was living in. I feel bad for her and I'm worried I might have acted too quickly. Edit, I just watched the Friends episode and wow, it's scarily similar lol. Stories number 24. Aita for not calling my oldest daughter a princess. I am 37, have 3 daughters ages 15, 6, and 5. We'll call my 15-year-old Taylor. I had Taylor with my college GF, we broke up when Taylor was just a baby, under a year old. We co-parented well together. Now that Taylor is older, she comes here when she wants but primarily stays with her mom since she's closer to her school/friends. I got married to my now wife 8 years ago, we now have 2 daughters together. Taylor's always gotten along great with my wife and her little sisters. Me, my wife and all 3 girls went to Disney World for a few days. Taylor has always been a huge Belle fan. First day at Disney I had some work to do so I got up early and got ready and went to the lobby while the girls got ready. When I went back up to the room my youngest 2 were dressed in princess dresses and crowns, while my oldest had on a very what I would call Belle-themed outfit. When I saw the younger 2 I said you 2 look just like princesses. My youngest asked what about Taylor. Taylor in the last few years has been over the cute pet names. So I said I think Taylor is a little too old to be a princess but she's very pretty. Taylor said thanks but sounded a little off. I didn't think anything of it. We had a good day. Taylor was distant with me but having fun with my wife and her sisters. I figured I would ask her when we got back to the hotel. Well, I got a long angry text from my ex-wife, saying Taylor had texted her that I called her sisters princesses but not her and said she was too old to be a princess and that really hurt her feelings I guess. I reminded my ex that Taylor has hated cute pet names for years now. My ex said considering we're at Disney and Taylor was in a Belle-themed outfit I should have thought that she might have wanted to be a princess for the day. My ex said I was being oblivious I tried talking to Taylor but she doesn't want to talk about it and hasn't talked to me much. My wife thinks I could have handled the situation better and made it up to Taylor. I don't think assuming my teen daughter wouldn't want to be called a princess is being an Stories number 25. My husband won't stop wearing this horrible dorky necklace and I hate it. He has this necklace that is a cheap metal chain that kind of look like if you looped flat construction staples together, and there's a metal pendant with a little design on it. It looks like something you would buy your kid at the zoo at the gift shop 20 years ago. He's had it forever because his uncle bought it for him when he was a kid. I would bet $2,000 that it came from a gift shop somewhere. It has lived safely in the jewelry box until last month when it suddenly became a staple in his everyday wardrobe. It's so ugly. It's so dorky. But he absolutely adores it. He caught me looking at it like, what the fuck is that, when he took his shirt off and I saw it on him for the first time, and he asked me if I liked it. I said no, and he told me he doesn't care if I don't like it, because it has sentimental value to him and he thinks it's cool. That's fine, I get it. I'm not going to say anything else about it, but he did ask for my opinion. We started preparing to have marital relations, and I made him take the thing off, because the thought of that dork-ass shit dangling in my face during missionary felt like taking an ice-cold shower. It looks so childish and silly. I want to ask his uncle, who is alive and totally fine BTW, to buy him a new necklace for adults so that one can go back to its private quarters in the jewelry box. Nothing makes me drier than this horrible necklace for children that my husband will not stop wearing. This is just the weirdest fashion hill he's died on since he decided he wanted to wear felt fedoras for like 3 months in 2021. I know I'm being an asshole, but I will not verbalize any of this to him. Edit, this makes me feel like I'm in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm and I am Larry. I cannot explain why I hate this necklace so bad. I just do. I know I'm in the wrong. But I will not rain on his parade. I will be supportive. Edit 2, I can't find it online anywhere. Even if I could, the necklace is so uniquely horrible that I wouldn't want to risk my husband or myself being identified by sharing a photo. Sorry folks, use your imaginations. Edit 3 double exclamation mark. Can you guys just have a laugh LMAO? He is the love of my life and he knows I don't like the necklace and that's fine because it's literally just a necklace. Edit 4 double exclamation mark. I think some of you are illiterate. Stories number 26. Aita for not allowing my estranged parents to come to my wedding cause they called the cops on me. I live in the US where escorting is illegal. I was an escort for 10 years, retired 4 years ago, simply because I outgrew it. Met my now fiancé 5 years ago. He knew what I did from day one. He's very open-minded and was okay with it, saw it as just a job. And no, he wasn't a client. Background, I went no contact with my parents a couple months before I met him, because they're overly invasive, controlling, bigoted, live in the 19th century, see themselves as perfect and will never apologize for any wrongdoing, use church to justify hate but don't follow religious tenets such as even attending church. They hired a PI on me as they're allergic to accountability of any kind, and my job was the perfect thing for them to blame for our no contact and they convinced themselves this must be the reason. It wasn't. I was 2 steps ahead of them and figured they'd pull a stunt like this. They sent me paragraphs of the most vile and hateful emails and texts about what low-life trash I am, about how no man would ever want me. I only told them about how I'm actually now seeing a wonderful man who knows everything and jokes on them. They accused me of making him up, and gave me an ultimatum of quitting immediately and moving home with them or they'd turn me in. They also threatened to apply to try and take custody of me, citing that what I did was proof that I wasn't mentally competent to make decisions for myself, and they'd get a lawyer and convince a judge I couldn't care for myself and they'd be granted custody of me. This actually did scare me because they're experienced with this. I have a high-needs autistic sister, so they do have experience with that sort of thing. Luckily I had moved to a city where the DA was not prosecuting prostitution offenses, and I consulted an attorney about them trying to take custody of me, citing my concerns because they have money, lawyers, and experience with this. My attorney said I have enough proof for harassment and blackmail, and since my father is a physician he could lose his license to practice if he got a restraining order or convicted of any of the above offenses. So he sent him a cease and desist letter reminding him of the aforementioned, then he backed off. Back to the present day, some extended relatives on my Facebook saw I'm now engaged and word got around to my parents. Relatives are pressuring me to forgive them and invite them. They agree my parents overreacted, but they did it because they were extremely worried and acted out of extreme desperation. I told them it's not my fault, my parents believe everything they watch on TV, plus my mother disowned me while my dad did all this threatening and chasing. Plus they accused my fiancé of being a figment of my imagination, and my uncle said, surely you understand why they thought that, and I said, no, I can't relate to bigotry. In a nutshell, they say my parents are just old-fashioned, don't understand, and acted out of desperation, and I should be compassionate and forgive them, but I say they can go to hell for calling the cops on me and my mom especially for disowning me. Edit. For those who think I'm trash for choosing to become an escort, it was mainly to escape. I graduated during the Great Recession and couldn't find a job with a living wage for the life of me, even tried working multiple jobs, still couldn't make ends meet. I even went to a confession to a priest asking for advice what to do. He just shamed me but gave me no solutions. Also, due to growing up with my sister who was violent and my narcissistic parents, we were very isolated. I didn't get to interact much with my peers. I was very much emotionally and mentally neglected. I'm not autistic, I was tested, but social skills were difficult for me due to the lack of opportunities one had growing up. Also, my parents wouldn't let me see therapists because therapists judged them, called them out in their BS. Even when I was in college I could only see a therapist if I didn't say anything bad about them or my sister, since they were paying for it, so I was not granted the same choices and opportunities that many have, and it has made it difficult for me to survive in traditional work environments. And with my severe PTSD, escorting allowed me to make a lot in a short amount of time, so I could take mental health breaks when I needed it without the risk of losing my livelihood. So yes, I did it for survival. My parents were so toxic they were making me suicidal. I couldn't stand living with them for another minute, and I was so desperate to move out and couldn't get a living wage anywhere. I even tried scratch-off tickets and still no luck. I prayed every single night for help and nothing. A year ago my childhood nanny wrote to me on Facebook. She was my nanny from when I was 3 to 7, because she was worried about me all these years later. She didn't know about my profession, said she wasn't surprised I was no contact with my parents. She said my dad was never home, working all the time, and my mother would just plop me in front of the TV for hours on end and ply me with junk food so she could deal with my sister, and I never got any attention unless she was there. My parents also made it out like I had a learning disability, citing I was late to learn how to dress myself and took me to an occupational therapist, but that's because they never took the time to teach me, and wanted to save face and instead went diagnosis shopping. Being a doctor, dad was well connected for that. So I'm happy for you all who were fortunate enough that you had good choices to make. Stories number 27. How do I repair things after I really hurt my husband with a comment? I, 36F, need some advice on how to smooth things over with my husband, 38M, after a recent slip-up. We've been married for almost 9 years and have 2 kids, an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. Our youngest is autistic and has a hearing impairment. Up until our son was 4 months old, my husband was working 12-hour days. Once it became clear that our son had additional needs, he quit his job during COVID to work from home and be more present for the family. He handles school drop-offs, after-school activities, and even dinner while I'm at work. However, his job still requires him to travel a lot. He's been away for about 70 days so far this year. In November, he was only home for 6 days, and during one of our FaceTime calls, I made an offhand comment about getting used to being a single parent while he was away. It wasn't meant to hurt him, but I saw how upset he was. Since he's been back, there's been a noticeable distance between us. He's still great with the kids, but emotionally, he seems withdrawn. He's turned down sex twice since he's been home, something he's only done once before after his vasectomy. I've apologized, but he says the comment was true and justified. I'm looking for practical advice on how to reconnect and move past this. Should I just give it time, or is there something specific I can do to fix things? TLDR equals I made an offhand comment to my husband on FaceTime about his work travel and it's really cut him hard. Top comments. Commenter 1. His perspective. Works long hours to make money. Changes jobs to be more flexible with kids. Has to travel. Gets told he is a shit parent and partner. Dude must be stressed as without that comment. Commenter 2. He's upset because it's true. He knows it and probably feels bad even though he really shouldn't. I think you need to apologize and just say I see the sacrifices you're making for our family and I appreciate everything you do. I know you are missing out on things here in order to provide for our family. I can't imagine that being away from us is any easier on you than it is on us. I am sorry and I love you. Edit. I would also tell him that you realize he feels bad and he shouldn't. OOP added in a comment. Okay, so I knew asking random anonymous strangers on the internet would open a can of worms. I know my comment was bad, and I said it on the back of 10 straight days of having the kids by myself, knowing that there was another week to go. I probably should have explained about his work. My husband works in an industry where WFH is not the norm. His employer is halfway across the country and because he joined them during a lockdown he demonstrated to them that he could do it remotely. They let him keep doing it. They're making noises for him to relocate on-site but as long as his performance is good, they can't really force it. Also, he is lucky to have the job he has. He is working towards getting his qualifications in the industry and because his employer was desperate during COVID, they were able to employ him without the usual degrees. He's still about 3 years away from being qualified as he studies part-time. Some other stuff, I won't go into too much detail about our sex life. It's infrequent, at best, which is down to me. I underwent cancer treatment about 2 years ago and my libido has been rubbish since. He's very understanding and forgiving about it. Update. Hi everyone, almost a year ago I posted this thread looking for advice. Since then he and I had a couple of huge conversations which ended in us separating. Apparently it stems back to when he started working from home and he took on the lion's share of the household duties. It seems I kind of got used to him doing everything, including investing in our relationship. We're doing marriage counseling and I'm hopeful of some reconciliation and being able to move back in together at some point. We're doing week on week off with the kids which seems to be working well for them. I know I'm not all to blame, he has some big issues with communication and not bottling things up. I think we could have got over this earlier if he'd been more communicative. Anyway, we've been apart for nearly 4 months now. Neither of us are dating and I still think things are fixable. For those who chose to send me DMs saying that I deserve to be divorced or cheated on or assaulted or worse, I hope you have the life you deserve. For those who have genuine and helpful advice, thank you. I really mean it. You helped me find the courage to have the honest conversations with my husband and we probably would have been on the fast track to divorce if not for your helping me frame my conversations. Top comments. Commenter 1. Wait, so he was taking care of everything while he was there, but then when he went on the business trips to get both of y'all's finances together you told him you're a single parent? That's fully hurtful. If I'm wrong please help me understand. Also to the people in the first post saying he needs to change jobs, what kind of fucking world do y'all live in where the person can just do this on a whim? This is tragic. And no amount of Reddit upvotes and sympathy can help change how both of these people went into their marriage. All I can say is damn. If my wife said that to me after all I do for us I'd rather just do 50-50 because honestly where's the appreciation for what I can do especially when I do all I can when I am able to be fully devoted to. Commenter 2. Apologize deeply and sincerely. Ask him to lay all of his hurt on you. Take all of it. Accept the shame you'll feel for hurting your person, and accept it deeply and without reservation. Commit to doing better, and mean it. Make it clear to him that you want to be the kind of person he deserves to be married to, and do the hard, painful work it takes to make that happen. Weekly therapy, and really hurling yourself into it, is a good start. But also, you have to accept that things might be too far gone. You need to do it because it's the right thing to do, not because you want to do it to win him back. You might do everything right to fix things and have him say that it's simply too far gone and you can't repair things. You have to accept that this is possible and to do the work anyway without expectation of reward. Do the work for him, but also do it for yourself, and for any future partners you might have if your husband is unable to forgive you. You have to accept that he might never forgive you, or might take years before this hurt fades into the background. I don't know you or your husband, but in cases of deep, serious harm it can genuinely take years of hard work before it's truly in the rearview mirror, and you have to be okay with that. In the end, you have to be willing to do the work to make things right with no expectation of reward and to truly throw your entire self into making it happen. Stories number 28. My roommate expects me to pay her sister's share of the rent because I have a job. I live with one roommate, Rose. I traveled for a family get-together. When I came back, I found someone else in the apartment. Turns out it was Rose's younger sister. I asked her what was going on, and she casually said, "Oh, she just came from the village and will be staying here for a few days while she applies for a job." I asked her why she didn't let me know beforehand, and she said, "I thought you wouldn't mind." Fast forward, those few days turned into what feels like forever. Her sister is always home doing absolutely nothing. No job hunting, no house chores, just using up our space, electricity, water, and food. She is basically moved in. When rent was due, I divided it into 3 and sent my 1/3. Rose called me saying I didn't send my full rent. I told her to divide the total into 3, and that is my part. She flipped. Said her sister isn't working yet and I've been working for years, so I should be able to afford the full half. That I should overlook it and render a little help. I told her point blank, you didn't ask me before bringing your sister in, and now you expect me to pay her rent too? Absolutely not. She called me wicked and stormed off. Stories number 29. My long-distance boyfriend just left for a 2-month trip to Switzerland with his ex-girlfriend. I live just a few hours away in Germany, but I was never part of his plans. He said the trip was planned a while ago. Well, maybe 2 months ago when we saw each other the last time in person. He even said and promised to me we could meet for maybe 10 days, but he actually never booked a train ticket. About a month before he left he said he can't change his plans with his ex, but haha later I found out she paid for everything. That really hurts BC. I wanted to do everything for him. Knowing he chose to spend time with her even though I wanted to be important to him and he knew how bad I felt ABT it. Before he left, I sent him a heartfelt message. His reply was cold, short, almost emotionless. I felt like I was talking to ChatGPT, but even ChatGPT would have written something with more emotions. And just before boarding he wrote, "Have a good night." Since then I've cut off contact, but he also didn't send it another message something like, "I landed safely. I'm hurt and disappointed." Update, I made a fake Insta account and my boyfriend said he's single to me. On a fake account, so I decided to follow him on Instagram with a fake account. He actually accepted my friend request yesterday, so I started chatting with him a bit and told him I'm from Spain and that we had met online before. After like 5 minutes of chatting he suddenly said he remembers me even though we've clearly never met. I asked him why he's still awake and he told me one of his university friends died. Like, seriously? That's such a disgusting lie to just throw out for attention. Who does that? Then I asked him if he has a girlfriend. He said no, that he broke up a month ago with someone from Germany because she wanted to know too much about him. I asked twice just to be sure. And both times he told me he's single. Meanwhile I'm literally his girlfriend or was. And he's currently on a trip with his ex and he said to my fake account he's just on a trip with his friends. Another funny thing is after that he texted to me his ex-girlfriend and called me babe, you. I hope we will never ever have a girlfriend in his life again. I hope karma gets him. Stories number 30. Not sure how to proceed with relationship after my 33F husband, 38M, did something sexual against my consent. First off, I'd like to start this off by saying I feel ridiculous talking about any of this. My 33F husband, 38M, and I have been experimenting a few times with him tying me up. Nothing wild, just wrists or feet tied to the headboards. Our makeshift ties were uncomfortable, so he ordered a full kit with comfortable ties, and it also happened to include other BDSM items, including multiple butt plugs, that he says he didn't even know it came with. He knows I don't enjoy anal stuff, besides maybe a finger against my asshole but not going inside. You need this for context, or else I'd never say this lol. Well, when the kit came in I told him multiple times I didn't want to use the butt plug. I even text him that, and have it in writing. Well, that night, he ties me up, we're getting into it and we're both close, and right as I'm about to orgasm, he sticks something in me, which I assume is his thumb because I told him so many times to not use the plug. I said, I told you I don't want to do that. He said, this is how far we usually do it, and get pressing something into me deeper as I was telling him no, and that it hurt, until finally I was able to get away. He hadn't let up at all, instead I find out he shoved the whole plug into me, and this thing wasn't small, so much so that I was sore the next day. I basically sat there in silence for a few seconds, completely dumbfounded by what just happened, until I got up and walked away and locked myself in our room where I cried and then went to sleep. I talked to him the next day and told him how it felt like he low-key raped me, and I had told him multiple times I didn't want to do that, and that by letting him tie me up I had trusted him and he broke that trust. I said it felt planned, like he snuck the plug up into the room. He said something like, I didn't sneak it up, you saw everything I brought up. I didn't. He said at first he didn't think it was a big deal, but now he knows it was. I told him I had even thought about divorce since I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to sexually trust him again. He thought this was wild. The thing is, we have 2 kids together. I'm a stay-at-home mom for the most part, with a small paying side gig. I'd do anything to keep my kids' life normal and not emotionally destroy them. In general, he's my best friend, and we get along great. Over the last several days since then, I find myself getting back to normal and feeling less rattled, but then I think about having sex with him again, and I'm not sure I can. What can I do to repair this relationship? I doubt he'd go to therapy, and I have the overall feeling he thinks I'm overreacting. I just feel lost and I don't even know what I'm looking for here. Stories number 31. Aita for reminding my parents why they are not in my life and will never meet their grandkids. So I grew up with two parents that at the time I thought were loving and cared and only wanted the best for me when really the truth is they didn't. While they were unhealthy with their lifestyle choices, obese, they always put strict diets, exercises, medication on me to keep me skinny. I thought it was fine until they lied to my doctor when he found a bleeding ulcer in my stomach. I was sick and down to 90 pounds at 5 feet 8 inches. 15 at the time and didn't tell them the medication I was on and gave me the don't you say anything look. I cut contact with them once I was able to leave home, but kept them on social media, with limited viewing of profile. I had my kids a few years ago and they found out through other family members on my social media. They reached out, asked why they weren't told and when they could meet my kids. I didn't block them, but they are not the type to reach out unless you do first or they're offended. I reminded them of the past and they called me a little asshole for bringing up the past, that they were doing it for me to be better than they are. I just hung up. Reached out to my in-laws that love and appreciate me. Husband wants me to block them from everything and remove all of their relatives off social for my health. I just don't know what to do. So am I the asshole for staying away and keeping my kids away? By the way, we are 3K miles away, so no worries about them surprising us. Update for everyone: thank you for your advice, kind words, and personal experiences. While yes, maybe I wasn't officially NC with them, I hadn't thought or talked to them in over a decade. My relatives that I wanted to stay close to convinced me not to block them completely when I moved away at 18. If they or anyone else in the family got sick, I'd know quicker if I didn't have anyone blocked, but that was the wrong idea because they are as toxic as them. Found out it was the aunt that told me not to block them, let it slip, and showed them all pictures. As for the therapy questions, I am in therapy for a lot of issues my upbringing cost me. It is working and I do promise to never be like them and raise my child well. I also want to say that the ulcer was not the only reason I went NC. I was also not overweight in high school. 115 to 120 pounds at 5 feet 8 inches, very active in sports. But at 14 they started keeping food away from me and restricting what I could eat and putting me on OTC weight loss pills. There was a lot more things I still feel too scared to talk about sometimes and working on it with the therapist. As for the main update, I want out with my Sil as she and my Mill came over. Mill stayed with our kids and we went out to get my mind off it as husband was working late. We had drinks, talked, and got my mind off of the issue. I came home. Hubs was there. He knew that I never really post or check socials much but use it to video call. He bought me an iPad as we are the only ones in the family that don't have iPhones. So that night, we set it up and then went through socials and my phone. We blocked everyone from my side and I deactivated my socials. It was very sweet tbh. We video called all the relatives so they could save the new number for the iPad. They all heard about what happened. Hubs and his sister are crazy protective and blabbermouths, but I love them. They all gave me messages and I woke up to my iPad inbox full of messages reminding me I'm a good person and loved and don't deserve to be hurt anymore by PPL. I will sleep easier knowing that they can't get to me. Address was never told to family and no info like that on social. I made a promise to myself. I won't be like them. I will love and cherish my children and never cause them harm. Stories number 32. Aita for not staying the full week on a family vacation planned by my fiancé's parents. I, 30F, am engaged to my fiancé John, 30M. His family spends a lot of time together, holidays, weekends, and frequent get-togethers with all the siblings and grandkids. John's dad retired this past May, and we already had a retirement party for him. Now his parents have planned a family vacation in November to celebrate his retirement again. They rented a large house out of state and invited everyone, siblings, spouses, grandkids, etc., for a full week, Saturday to Saturday. John and I were clear from the beginning that we probably wouldn't stay the entire time. I've always expressed that Thanksgiving is an important holiday for me to spend with my own family, and John told his parents early on that he wasn't sure we'd stay the full week because it was a long trip. We decided we'd attend the trip from Saturday through Wednesday, then head home so we could spend Thanksgiving with my family. Since then, there's been some subtle pushback. His parents have said things like, "It's just one Thanksgiving," or asked if John could stay even if I left. They've also said this is the first time the whole family is doing a trip like this in years and it might not happen again. I understand they're excited about the trip, and we're not trying to skip it. We're planning to be there for 5 full days. But I don't think it's fair to expect every adult to give up a full week of their own time and holiday plans, especially when we made our intentions clear up front. Aita for not wanting to stay the full week, even if it's disappointing to his parents. Edit. Many people asked about the subtle pushback. It was subtle as in they are communicating with John. His mom blew up when they asked about booking flights and he said yep, our plan is to come Saturday to Wednesday to get back to OP's family for Thanksgiving since it's important to her. She went off saying, it's just one, she can't miss just one, and, can't you just stay? Then he left that conversation upset and we got in an argument about holding the boundary because he is a peacekeeper and tends to people please. Then a couple weeks later they asked him to come for dinner and both his mom and dad pressed more saying, it's just one, can't you just stay, and then they told him, he needs to advocate for himself. He was great about all of this. He held the boundary and told them this is a we decision and that this is what we are comfortable with. He told them he doesn't want to be away from his fiancée on the holiday. Stories number 33. Aita for bringing up how much it hurts my feelings when my family goes by the family nickname because it excludes me. My parents both have Joe names. And when my older siblings were born they gave all of them Joe names too. So each member of my family is Joe something. Josephine, Joseph, Jocelyn, etc. I, 16M, was born 8 years after my next youngest sibling and I was given a C name. So I'm the only person who doesn't have Joe in my name. While in some ways it's less confusing, it hurts because my family often get called the Joes as a nickname and sign cards from everyone like that, it excludes me. They never use the Doe family. It's always the Joes. And more often than not people either forget I'm a member of the family or act weird when my name is so different. I have a not so close relationship with my family too. It doesn't help that my parents proudly tell people they gave all their kids Joe names. Except they didn't with me. Or my siblings will say the whole family are Joe something and again not true. My parents even talk about how important it was for them to keep it going. When I asked how I got my name they said it was just one they heard and decided to use and there was no reason for it. They didn't even give it any real thought. They're not embarrassed to say it either. Yet they talk about agonizing over my siblings' names. We went on vacation with the whole family and the ILs of my oldest brother and sister. And all the social media posts were like vacationing with the Joes, and I was actually left out of lots of photos where that was focused on. And some of the kids in their IL's families thought I was a cousin or a foster kid or something. It made me withdraw for the rest of the vacation and when we got home my parents didn't notice. And they posted the photos that excluded me without a second thought and used the nickname for their posts. A week after we got back my parents asked me if I had any photos they hadn't posted yet and I said no. They said they wanted to keep them all in the Joe albums. I saw it as an opening to bring up the hurt I feel but my parents got annoyed at me. They told me to quit being dramatic and I'm family so what the hell does it matter. They said I was oversensitive and they wouldn't apologize for not pandering to my emotions. They complained to my siblings and when I saw them all last weekend and they were all like way to throw a pity party or make it about yourself. Stories number 34. I'm dying and I am looking for advice over guardianship of my daughter and what I should prepare for her in the future. I'm 27M. I was diagnosed with cancer in a late stage. I've refused treatment as it may extend my life a little but the treatment will have its own issues and I'd rather my daughter remember me positively. That's a final decision. My daughter is 8. I'm a single dad. The best thing I've ever done. I was thinking of pre-writing birthday cards for her every year to 21. Maybe other cards like graduation etc. Maybe a few videos. I don't know if that's stupid. Is there anything that you appreciated that someone did before they passed? The other advice is choosing her guardian. I don't have the best relationship with family but they want to be her guardian. My ex, not my daughter's mother, has been in her life even after we broke up and their bond is great. It is, however, a lot to ask of her and her fiancé and I don't want to make her feel like she has to take guardianship. I really appreciate all the responses. Sorry if I haven't replied. I'll do my best to reply to more tomorrow but I'm sleepy. Stories number 35. Am I overreacting by not wanting to pay the full bill just because I'm the only one who doesn't drink alcohol? I went to dinner with some friends from work. Everyone ordered several drinks, bottles of wine, expensive cocktails, and I only ordered my food and a soda. When the bill came, someone said, "Shall we split it between everyone so we don't get complicated?" I replied that I'd rather pay my own way because I literally didn't have anything, and my share was much smaller. They were silent for a moment, and then one of them said, "Wow, how cheap." I felt a little bad, but it also seemed unfair to pay for things I didn't consume. It's not that I don't want to socialize, it just doesn't seem fair to me. Am I overreacting by not wanting to split the bill like everyone else? Should I have done it, just to be cool? Or are they being unfair? Stories number 36. OE employees' consequences trickled over to an entire office. Let me start by stating I'm an engineering manager/team lead and I am not against OE at all, as long as you can do a good job. If you get your work done and have space cycles, it's my job as your manager to find you more work. If there isn't more work and you can OE and keep it discreet, have at it. My story starts when the small startup I worked for was acquired by a small publicly traded company. For a while the parent company allowed us to continuing doing our thing without much interference. Then the head office had a new idea for a product and they wanted our division to design it. We were excited to show off our talents since the acquisition was basically an acqui-hire. Our team was small and we couldn't spare anyone, so I designed the hardware while another team member got working on the board support and drivers. Knowing that we would need another software resource, we hired Jim, a principal SWE with the exact experience we needed but came with a big price tag. Jim was also remote in another state, so we only ever interacted over Teams meetings. At first during stand-ups and status meetings it didn't seem like Jim was getting anything done and would always say he needed X dev kit, or Y debugger cable, so we would have to ship that out and that would take a day or two. I minded my own business since he was not my direct report and I chalked it up to being new. Finally we got the first prototypes and me and the original team member got the board up and running in a matter of hours. We were pretty proud that everything worked with minimal errors since it was a pretty complicated board. Shortly after, an emergency flared up with a different product line that me and the team member needed to put out. This ended up taking a significant portion of our time, but we felt like we were in a good place to hand off the project to Jim and he would continue working on the software application. Fast forward 6 months and Jim has done nothing with the project. There were lots of excuses and missed meetings along the way. During this time the original founders of the startup left and leadership of the office was temporarily held by a VP in the company. Different story. He was a brash character and was pissed off that we were paying Jim a lot more money than everyone else and he was getting nothing accomplished. An investigation was started and it came out that Jim was OE and was promptly let go. The project was behind and over budget, so our team was not looking good in the eyes of leadership. Because of office politics at the head office, some opportunistic individuals used the decline in trust with our division to convince leadership that we should offshore all new projects to contract design teams. The project was yanked, and our little team never worked on another new project again. My boss wanted me to babysit the offshore teams on the project that they had stolen from me. I didn't want that and eventually quit. Fast forward a year and the team still hasn't worked on any new projects. All the existing product lines became long in the tooth, reducing sales for the division. With nothing to replace the dwindling numbers, the head office shuttered the division and laid off everyone. So please don't be one of those OEs that do nothing while getting a paycheck until they fire you. You might just take others with you. Update: while this blew up, I'll address some of your comments here. I didn't ignore him or the project for 6 months but was basically told to stay in my lane when I told leadership that Jim was doing nothing since he was not my direct report. Unless Jim straight up lied, deceived multiple people in his interview/resume, he was more than capable of doing the job we asked of him. I'll admit we were giving a huge benefit of doubt to him, and didn't start documenting issues till much later, and it's not easy to fire someone without documentation. Stories number 37. Roommate stole my Amazon delivery then lied straight to my face about it. Alright, so this just happened and I'm still kinda processing the absolute audacity. Ordered 2 things from Amazon last week using some money I had won on stake for random stuff I needed. Basic order: electric toothbrush and a phone charger. Got the delivery notification, photo confirmation at my door, the whole deal. But when I got home from work, nothing there. My roommate Jake was like, "Bro, that sucks, probably porch pirates again. This neighborhood's getting sketchy." Made total sense honestly. We've had packages go missing before so I didn't think much of it. Fast forward to last night and I'm grabbing water from the kitchen around midnight. Bathroom doors cracked open and I see Jake brushing his teeth with the exact same Oral-B toothbrush I ordered. Like down to the specific model and color. Confronted him this morning and dude straight up looks me in the eye and goes, "Oh, this? Bought it at CVS yesterday, been needing a new one." The confidence was honestly impressive. LMAO. Like, bro. I literally have the Amazon listing screenshot on my phone. CVS doesn't even carry that specific model. Anyone else dealt with roommate theft this bold? Part of me's almost impressed by the commitment to the lie. Moving out in 2 months, but damn, the disrespect is wild. Stories number 38. Help, I'm a narcissist. Realizing it after a fight with my mom and flashbacks of what my 26M, GF, 28F always say to me. So, I've been crashing at my mom's place recently after some stuff went sideways in my life. Last night, I was walking through the living room with a drink in my hand, not really paying attention, and I tripped. The glass slipped, spilled all over the carpet. The first words out of my mouth were, "Why would you even put that there?" I was talking about a little side table she keeps near the couch. I blamed her for my mistake. FFS, even though it was clearly my fault. And as soon as I heard myself say that, it was like a switch flipped in my head. It hit me how messed up that reaction was, not just because I spilled something, but because of how automatic it was to blame someone else. It was like this pattern finally clicked, and suddenly I was thinking about my girlfriend, 28F. We've been together for 3 years. She said more than once that I twist situations, flip blame, and make her feel like she's always doing something wrong. And you know what? She's right. I always brushed it off as her being dramatic, or sensitive. But standing in my mom's living room with iced tea soaking into her carpet, I realized she was right. And this wasn't a one-time thing. My GF and I live together, there are constant little fights, and I always have a reason why it isn't my fault. Let me give you some simple situations where I was a garbage of a human being. 3 months ago, she got home from a long shift and the kitchen was a mess. She asked why I didn't clean up, and I snapped, "You didn't ask me to." Like I needed a chore list instead of just being considerate. Another time, she got emotional about something she was going through, and I made it about me. I said, "You think I don't have stuff going on too? The difference is that you always complain and I keep things to myself." Instead of just listening. I flipped it, every fucking time. I always accuse her of overreacting any time she brought up how I made her feel. Then I'd get mad at her for starting fights, which now I see was just her trying to communicate. She told me more than once, "You manipulate the situation so it always looks like I'm the problem." And I honestly thought she was just being unfair. But looking back now, I was deflecting, blaming, stonewalling, all the classic signs of narcissistic behavior. It wasn't about being a villain, it was just my default. Back to the spilled drink, that was my wake-up call. I spilled something. I blamed someone else. And in my head, it made perfect sense until it didn't. I stood there and realized I'd done this exact thing over and over again in my life. With my girlfriend, with coworkers, with friends. I weaponize logic to avoid blame, I gaslit people without even realizing it, and I always make myself the misunderstood one. Now I don't know exactly what to do with this. I've been reading a bit about narcissistic tendencies and it's honestly terrifying how much of it fits. I don't think I'm a monster, but I can't ignore this anymore. I don't want to keep hurting people close to me, or keep lying to myself, especially after my mom gave me that look of disgust. I want to change. I just don't know where to begin. Please help. Stories number 39. Would you like to add the device to your home? Sure. About 5 years ago I was in a place that shared a wall with a neighbor who would play music loud after 11 p.m., have loud arguments with friends, let his dog crap on the patch of grass outside my path, park his car in the visitor bay so nobody else could park close by, etc. Total jerk. You get the idea. I'd asked him many times to keep the noise down, but he'd reply, "Everyone is noisy round here, chill." One day I was turning on my smart light in my lounge when the app came up with a notification. New device detected, fancy brand portable air con unit. Would you like to add the device to your home? Well, bearing in mind my lounge is right next to his, there's only one asshole neighbor this device belongs to. So I clicked yes. No further questions, I apparently now have full access to this asshole's air con unit. Catching. So I plotted my revenge. At the time I was getting up for work at 3 a.m. Asshole had gone to sleep at 1 a.m. I think 3 a.m. is the perfect time to set it to full blast 16C cool air, 61F. By the time I got to work at 6 a.m., I'd noticed it was back in quiet mode. What a shame. Set back into full blast 16C. As noisy as possible. I kept this up for about 2 weeks. Shortly after I noticed an ad up on our neighborhood Facebook group for a faulty air con unit, collect for free outside my next door's address. It would be rude not to take it. Although I still endure occasionally noisy evenings, my nights have been so much cooler recently. Stories number 40. Entitled Grandma Tried to Coerce My Mother into Paying for Her Granddaughter's Childcare. Okay, this is sort of confusing to follow, so let me try to explain the title. My sister has been friends with 2 girls and their brother since middle school, and when this happened they were in their late 20s. The child in the title is the daughter of the brother. The brother is in prison at this time. His daughter is 2 or 3. The little girl comes to my mom's house sometimes when her aunts visit with my sister. My sister and these girls refer to each other as sisters. It's really more playful but also a way to describe their closeness. The mother of these girls knows my mom through her daughters, but they've probably had 2 or 3 high and by type conversations. Around 5 and my mother receives a phone call from an unknown number. Due to the time, she's nervous that it could be an emergency, so she answers. The mother of my sister's friends is on the phone. Here is my best recollection of the call as told from my mom. Mom, hello. Who is this? Friend's mom. Hey, it's B. Friend's mom. Mom, sad face, confused. Oh, how you doing? Friend's mom. Well, I'm trying to get with you so we can figure some things out for granddaughter's name. Mom, huh? Is she okay? Friend's mom. Her mom is having a rough time since son's name went to jail, so you and I need to figure out what to do about daycare. Mom, daycare? Daycare for who? Friend's mom, for granddaughter's name. I told her mama not to worry about it because I would get with her other grandma to figure it out. Mom, I can't watch her because I'm at work during the day. I know it's expensive, but I have my own grandchildren I help with, so I can't offer any financial help either. Friend's mom. If she can't get daycare, she will lose her job, and that's just going to make things worse. Mom, I'm going to have to call you back. I'm still half asleep, so this conversation is too much for my brain right now. Friend's mom. Okay, well, call me back so I can let granddaughter's mom know what we came up with. Mom hangs up and immediately blocks the number and waits to call me at a decent time to share the conversation. Edited to add, I apologize if it wasn't made clear that this happened a long time ago. I only remembered it when the granddaughter, in this post, recently shared a birth announcement on FB. Unlike the Reddit sagas where someone goes off the deep end or to jail, it was rather anticlimactic. More background: at that time, while not wealthy, my mom owned a decently successful business. The friend's mom was on disability and living in a fixed income place that had assigned roommates and didn't allow children. After speaking to my mom, I called my sister to ask where her friend's mom got the nerve to try to strong-arm our mom. My sister said not to respond or call her back, and that would be enough of an answer. For a few months the friends avoided coming to our house and were short if we saw them somewhere, but things eventually died down.